Welcome, everybody, to Crunch Time with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. It is Monday, May 6th. It's a new week. Had a pretty good weekend.
It's a big week.
How your guys' weekend went? Hey, Tom Brady, the Roast of Tom Brady was this weekend. Thought that.
It was hilarious.
It was great.
Yeah, it was great.
We'll get into that in a little bit. We got a lot of lines to get to. In the second hour, we'll have Sean Murphy, host of From Half Court, my guy. He'll be on to talk some Pistons and just NBA playoffs because we are in the midst of it. But we got a lot of lines to get to in a little bit. But before we get to it, fellas, how we feeling on this Monday? How we feeling today?
$1 million. Always feel like $1 million. Ask me again and again. I always feel like $1 million. How are you guys feeling?
Good. I was a proud uncle this weekend. Went to see the Neff. Had a flag football game. He's 8, and they played at the Browns Stadium, which was just a brutal stadium to walk into. I mean, it's the house. I texted Booner a picture, and he goes, "The house that Johnny built. It's the house that no one built. No one has
Johnny
ever built the Cleveland
baby.
Browns Stadium." Hey, but bro had a good run. Neff had a good run. Looked like C-Mac out there. He had a nice little cutback. He didn't get the touchdown, but he got him down. It was on 4th down.
Got to finish.
They said, "Give it to Klotz. Give it to Klotz," and he got the first. It was like 4th and 20. Neff got it. Runs in the DNA.
Few got it.
Yeah, he did.
He said, "Give it to Klotz."
Interesting. See if he makes the league.
Yeah.
He might. Hey, he's like kind of he's like a bigger kid. Like he's not fat, but he's just got like that like baby fat. So he's like
Had that as well. Yep.
So
I had
he's
that.
got to wear 44, so he looks like Hughes Check out there. That's what I was calling him. I called him Hughes Check.
Okay. You got hands? You got hands?
You know what?
Yeah,
I would like a better
better
comparison. I would like maybe give him like a Jason Kabinda or something.
Mike Allscott.
Okay.
He ain't getting no Kabinda.
Corey Schlesinger.
Yeah, keep reaching.
Corey Schlesinger's a great one. Come on, man.
No.
I don't know.
Disrespect him.
A little disrespectful to Klotz's name.
I'm
Yeah,
joking. All right.
They raised some dogs over there, man. I don't know. I've never been to Cleveland's their stadium. Never been there.
It's honestly not that bad. It's just right off the coast of Lake Erie, so it smells like dead fish, and it just looks like absolute shit all the
Real
time.
quick. I don't think, and I could be wrong with this. I don't think like off a lake is like being off a coast. I think that's only like for the ocean.
Coast of the lake. Every
I don't know
large
if
body of water has a coast.
Maybe. What
What do you want me to say?
I don't know. That's why when it came out, it didn't sound right. But then I started
My
thinking,
bad.
like, what else is it? I don't know. Maybe someone else knows. A coast just feels like that's like Florida or like the West Coast.
I mean, yeah, you're
East
not going to
Coast.
think of Lake Erie.
You
but
don't
it's a
call
large
like
body of water.
Lake Michigan the East Coast of Michigan. Like,
No, I said the coast of Lake Erie.
oh man,
You're dragging
I want
it
someone.
for no reason.
Yeah,
For
I
no
want
reason.
someone to give
You're
us a
fighting
fame.
a fight you don't even want to.
No, I would love to. I love.
He's not
fighting fame.
sure.
I'm a big.
Yeah.
I love. You know me, Klotz. I love having a good argument.
Eat my Penn
Well-
Station fries.
Fellas, I had a lot of fun watching the Roast of Tom Brady. I don't know if the
Oh, it was
I would love to
great.
hear the chat too on it, because I'm a huge fan of just roasts in general. I've been watching them ever since I was a kid, and I've caught every single roast. Even rewatched the ones that happened when I was a kid, and just to see a roast happen, and it's complete unfiltered comedy, like it pushing the limits. I absolutely love, because I feel like in today's society, you just don't have much
Here
of
he
that.
goes.
And comedians are scared to go that route because of how soft the society is in general.
Yeah.
Watching the roast, I know, and trust me, we'll get to the controversy. I can't believe we're saying that. It's a joke, and all comedians should understand. They understand that, but all fans who watch comedy should understand that. It's all joke.
Jeff, we're not going to be a part of the problem spreading any controversies out of this thing. This was a great program.
It was
This was a
amazing.
great program. We're not spreading any controversies. Not on Crunch Time. Everything was great in that show.
It was great. The reaction, some people were a little soft. I'm not gonna lie, a little soft. That's how I feel. I don't know how the chat feels, but watching it was great. I thought Nikki Glazer did a great job. She probably had the best, roast of anybody.
Her
I think
or
she-
Tony. Her or Tony.
Yeah, Tony was really good too. I thought,
Yeah.
and I thought Kevin was a great host. They just had it. I thought Randy. I was, a couple of the athletes. I was like, I'm curious. It's a new stage for these guys. They're athletes, but then now they're trying to get into the comedian realm. I thought Drew Bledsoe did a great job. He probably impressed me the most, to be honest. Randy was he was trying to. I felt bad a little bit. He was trying. It was Drew tough. Was a natural, man. He was funny. Very funny.
I think it was because he was like the first one to go. Like it's easy when you're because like the content gets taken up a little bit as you keep going and you start hearing some repeat. Gronk I thought was unbelievable, by the way. Gronk he was like, I made all of my own jokes. I did everything on my own, and you could tell, and it made it that much more funnier. I thought all of Gronk went in. It was great. I thought it was really good. The one thing I didn't like, I felt bad because I'm a Burt Kreischer and Tom Segura fan. I like the fellas, good fellas. It's tough for them. I don't if I don't know if they were like told like, hey, we want you to do this sort of thing, like a presentation halfway through, because it was like halfway through, and like, can you do like a sort of a break type of instead of stand up, or unless they tried that, but that was just like, oh man, the fellas were up there struggling a little bit for sure. I think Tony had the best one, the Kill Tony guy. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he killed it. Hinchcliffe, yeah, he's good.
Julian was funny too. Julian Edelman.
Julian was good. Jordan Schultz was great. Like I think it was like a great 3 hours.
I do that all the time though.
Yes.
I do that all the time. Yeah.
Especially
kind of looks
Yeah.
And, shout out Andrew Schultz, my bad.
Some people are just natural in that type of environment. Like, even though they're comedians, some just get it and they're excellent at it. And that's why I think Andrew, he's already great at crowd work. So like that for him was a layup. I mean, I don't even, you see Kim Kardashian got booed when she walked up there. Did you see that?
Everyone said she was terrible too. I didn't think she was that bad.
Like, what are we doing? I mean, why?
Yeah, I was so happy. Hinchcliffe, like his last joke was going at Kim K just for being a fucking.
Tom Brady went at her and Kanye.
Like, why is he? What? I don't know. I don't know why.
Rodney Harrison was pissed the whole time. Did you guys see that?
Yeah,
for whatever reason, Brashad Perriman was there. Could not tell you why. Him and Brashad Perriman just looked pissed the whole.
Wasn't Levante David there?
Yeah, all the players were laughing.
From the Bucks.
Yeah, well, dude, all of them were laughing besides Perriman. Like every time, Perriman was the only one who didn't laugh once. I don't think there was no reason for him to be up there. They like squeezed Julian Edelman with the Patriots guy. I don't even think he was up there to start. But hey, the Kraft and Bill thing, I was going to say that was probably the funniest part of the whole thing was those two, like Kevin Hart being like, "Oh, boys, come do a shot," and Bill Belichick he was like, I do not want to be a part of this right now. I have no reason to be up here. I hate Robert Kraft. This guy's like, he literally, if you guys think about it, and when I was watching it, Robert Kraft, they just did that documentary, and it was literally the Crafts that made it for Apple TV. It was like their company, and all it was just going at Bill Belichick. It was just like, we're just gonna call Bill Belichick out. And then Robert Kraft, and he had to go up there with Robert Kraft and take a shot. And Kraft was just sitting there like, he's the best coach ever. Bill Belichick in his head was just like the whole time.
Yeah, I'm glad he showed up. I wasn't sure when first tuning in. I was like, oh, Bill came out of nowhere. I mean, they had Peyton up there. It was 3 hours long in total. So it was great. I loved it, man.
Wonder if they do another one.
Spilling his shot, pretty much. I saw that comment. Yeah, he was spilling a shot a little bit. I'm surprised they called him up to roast. I was a little like to talk a little bit, or he gave his thoughts. I was like, damn, just let Robert chill. Let that man just chill out. He's okay. They even who was it? Oh, Jeff Ross. He came up and he called out Dana. He's like, hey, it said no pets allowed. Like his fighter. He had Sean O'Malley and Max Holloway.
Holloway's.
That was funny.
Absolutely ruthless.
How about Gronk spiking the shot glass, and someone got hurt in the front row? There was like reports that someone like he spiked the shot glass and it was glass
boo-hoo.
But I just think it's funny. Like it's just a Gronk thing. I think someone said something about it later. They were like, "What a Gronk move! Just be like the dumbest guy in the world to just actually." Spike a shot glass in front of a bunch of people.
The Gronk dumb jokes were the best part of the whole thing. Just calling him like basically a meathead. Like that's the joke about him not going for Tom's crypto.
Go ahead, do it.
You know that on money.
Yeah. Dude, it was great. I mean, even Dana calling out Netflix. He's like making fun of his name. He's like, isn't Dana trans enough for you guys? Like, I only got a minute to talk. Like, they gave him a minute.
Yeah, he was like waiting to see if it hit.
Yeah.
He's like, no, okay. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I saw after the people all frustrated, and yet Aaron Hernandez's former wife come out. It was like frustrated at the jokes there. It's like, hey,
who cares?
That's a roast. So too bad. I mean, the guy killed people. So, unfortunately, nothing's really off limits. I mean, even regardless, I mean, hey, the guy's a criminal. The jokes they had were funny. They were funny. So I loved it. It was great. I saw Doc put out a tweet. It was like Lions related. And he asked the question. I'll put it up for everybody here. And he said, which Detroit Lions player or coach do you want to sit in the chair and get roasted for 3 hours? Honestly, my mind, yeah. Booner, who do you think?
I think it's the one. It doesn't have to be it says coach there, Dan Campbell. Put Dan in the hot seat and let all the players go up and the assistants go up. I'll go up and we'll just cook Dan Campbell for 3 hours.
And then Dan gets to come back.
And he gets to come back and get everyone else. If that happens, I would hope I get a spot. I would love to go at Dan a little bit.
Coach said Cam Sutton. Oh, geez.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That man would get fried.
I think it has to be someone that's like popular, that everyone likes, but you could still go at really hard. I think Dan's like the perfect one. Him or Jared.
He's got a good
Goff,
sense
probably.
of humor. He's got a good sense of humor. Honestly, I don't know who would be another one.
It has to be a big.
Who?
Levi. Put Levi up there.
No, I don't think you. I don't think it's like someone you hate. It has to be someone you hate. Like I think it has to be like a big name, like someone that everyone knows to go up there and do it. That's why I think it has to be like Dan or Jared.
Yeah, Jared would get. And there's substance there for Jared. There's jokes available already for Jared. Yeah. Like Hutch would be. It's like, what are you gonna say? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna say about him? Like Tom Brady's a guy you can make fun of. Like Jared, you could probably make fun of him.
The thing is once you get up there, if you're roasting, once you get up there, the whole team, everyone's going to be there. If you wanted to roast Levi, or I saw the Money Badger in the chat, or there's certain guys you wanted, I'm going at all of them too. And then I'm coming back to Dan, and I'm going hard to Dan. So,
whoa, wait.
I think Dan needs to be like if the Lions did it, it has to be Dan.
Put Matt Patricia up there, dude. He'd get there, but don't let him respond. Just let him sit there and just get made fun of. There's no response. Who would be? Listen, fellas. What if we did a crunch time roast? Who do you think would be the? I think my mind goes to Booner. I think Booner would.
I would destroy everyone, dude.
The roast of Booner.
I would just kill you.
You guys make fun of me enough, so it'd probably be either me or Booner. I mean, I feel like we get poked at probably the most. I don't know what we could say about like Gentry. Like he's the.
I've got stuff for every one of you guys.
Could cook Gentry. You could cook Gentry.
He's like a little more reserved. Like I have to pry a little bit. I have to do my research and like really get in my bag with Gentry.
I've got a whole notebook on you guys here. I will absolutely flame each and every one of you.
I feel like Lukas is too like. I feel I could probably get Lukas, but he's so like he just doesn't really give a shit. So like, the stuff he does.
No. Trust me, Lukas.
Unless you call me Bud. Unless you tell me sit out and shut up, Bud.
Jeff. There's things I know. Lukas.
Like that time.
I will make sure Lukas, and it's supposed to be fun. So hopefully he doesn't take it to heart. I will go at Lukas, and he will. He might feel a type of way after. It'll be fun. We should do it one day.
You and Lukas start scrapping. You strike a nerve. It'd have to be someone that can get made fun of too. I think we all could take that, like that joke. I think we all could take a joke. I don't think
hey, Lukas, what about you? Lukas, what about you over there, bud?
Booner, I can take a joke just fine, Boone.
All right, bud.
I kind of want to put a poll up before we move on here. I want to see what the chat.
I think it would end up being the roast of Booner, but I think what would happen is you guys come at me the whole time, and then at the end, I just absolutely knock all of you guys out and destroy you guys. That's how I imagine it in my head going. I mean, what are people going to come at me about?
I believe in your head. That's what it replays as. I'm not doubting that. Reality? Yeah, I don't know.
Reality. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be bad. I mean, everyone knows everything about me, so it'd be a good time.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, everyone knows everything about me. We can't get personal. Like, it's the roast, like things that people know that are funny. You guys can't get like in my personal life, right?
oh,
we can't.
yeah.
You can get my
the
personal
point of
life,
a
but
roast,
not
That's
like
the point of
things
a roast.
not things that people don't know though. They're like, whoa, we can't like be doing like diss tracks here to where you guys are just putting out weird, crazy news about me. Yeah,
I'm
that's just
revealing
not.
a daughter, Boone. I'm revealing
Yeah,
a daughter.
like that
You
type
got
of
a
stuff
daughter,
would be
you're hiding
that
from the
type of
world,
stuff would
Booner.
be crazy. Then you guys are just trying to take me down at that point. We're supposed to be having a good time here.
Don't let me check the sex offender.
I'm gonna go the Kendrick route, dude.
profile at the map.
I'm revealing.
You're gonna
go
to the Kendrick route, lie about everything, throw everything out there, just make stuff up.
Oh, and you might go the Drake route and just say wrong, 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 just like a guilty man would. Just like a guilty man would.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, well, hey, I think Booner, you'd be great. I mean, you'd probably come back at the end, and then we'll see. I don't know. You could absolutely do great. You could maybe bomb a little bit. There's that possibility.
There's no bombing over here.
I don't know.
All right.
You know who wouldn't bomb and really has not been bombing is Jake Bates, Michigan Panthers kicker. That dude, every time I I go on Twitter, Jake Bates hit like another 60-yard field goal. What the hell's going on with Jake Bates, Boone? And why is this guy the best kicker of our generation? I mean, what is going on with this dude? I like every time I look, first time kicking professionally, 60-yarder, 60-yarder, 60-yarder. What's going on with Jake Bates? And why isn't he a Lion? I don't understand.
He's going to be a Lion. It's going to happen. I don't know how much they're going to have to pay him because he's probably going to be a pretty hot commodity when it comes to the end of the UFL season. Can I just give you guys some stats real quick?
Yeah.
Because
let me hear him.
So far, he's played in 6 games, fellas. One of the games, he's missed a field goal in 1 game, and he went 1 for 3. And that was 2 weeks ago, and I believe, or it was not this weekend, but the weekend before, and I believe it might have been the only outdoor game. I believe. And he went 1 for 3, missed a 58-yarder, missed a 62-yarder, and made a 30-yarder. Outside of that, fellas, outside of that 1 game,
outside of it,
he's been 14 for 14. So on this season right now, he's 14 for 16, 3 for 4, 60-plus, boys. 60-plus, that man is 3 for 4. That man's throwing up Justin Tucker numbers. He's 3 for 4 from the 50 from 50 to 60. I'm just throwing this out there. He's the Justin Tucker of the UFL. He's the Justin Tucker of the UFL.
That's fair.
He's 3 for 4 from 50 to 60. He's 6 for 6 in the 40s, and he's 2 for 2 anything under 40. That man is an absolute demon of a player right now and a kicker. He's had 1 bad game. He's gone 1 for 3 in 1 game, and they were 58 and 62. It was outdoors, so obviously that's something to work on. Boys, bring that man to the he better be in Allen Park come August, and he better be competing for that kicking job. Honestly, he has to be. And Jeff, me and you talked about the situation. Well, right now there's no fans in the stands.
It's that's where I was going.
I do think it's different, but again, there's been NFL kickers that have been really good, and in college, they're not playing at the best of schools. They just, hey, if you have leg talent, you have leg talent. Yes. Think about who's the kicker in the Cowboys right now? Aubrey?
Brandon Aubrey?
Brandon Aubrey.
Aubrey
Graham? Think about that. He played in the USFL last year, gone over there, and he's one of the best kickers in the NFL now. And it was just,
we 1 player away, Boone, and it's at the kicker position?
No, we're not. Hey, first of all, you know how I feel about one player away. No 1 player away here at the Detroit Lions. We're an absolute powerhouse of a team.
Here's the thing with that. I don't know how you feel about Lucas. I think he's a great kicker. It's impressive what he's doing. The run he's been on, it's impressive. I don't want to take anything away from the man. He's been on a tremendous run. The Lions should bring him in, no question. I think they would probably bring him in when the season's over, the Panthers season.
I think they have to. I think they have to wait.
Yeah, you can't just take him in mid-season. But when the season's over, he certainly should be brought in and compete. I'm curious how the adjustment to the NFL in terms of just the crowd being there, how that I think it matters. Like, it's not just by having a leg. You got to have the mindset of like not being fazed by
Brandon Aubrey
sold out crowd and really a decibel level that you can't hear yourself. So like, there's that too. And I think that is an adjustment. I don't know. Like, I will say this though, before you go, Lucas, I think there's kickers that aren't great NFL kickers that probably just nail 60-yarders in practice. Like just smoke the 60-yard like bombs. And then they get into a game and they can't hit a 40-yard field goal, like 45. Like it's just it's the mental side in which I am curious. And I think the way he's been kicking it, there's no reason to doubt it, but there is a reason to probably be a little, hey, we'll see what he can do.
Yeah,
but he's doing it in Ford Field. So
it's a cool story. Bring him in for camp, but I think there's people out there, they're acting like this is the man, like he's the kicker Jesus for the Detroit Lions. Like to your point, I think one, not playing kicker much in the past and then having to step in at the NFL level to nail a 50-yarder to win the game. I think that's something that he's definitely never faced before. So it's not really a situation you go back to and be like, well, even I know it's playing in college, I had to make this kick, even though it was at a lower level. I mean, he hasn't even played in college. So I think it definitely is something that for people to think you can just plug and play him at kicker, you'd probably be set up for failure and be disappointed. But hey, it's a cool story. Bring him in. If it works out, great. If not, I won't be surprised.
Why are we acting like it's just like Brandon Aubrey just did it for Dallas last year and was the best kicker in the league last year?
Yeah, but
we're acting like the one scenario that's happened with USFL, he was the best kicker in the NFL.
Okay, that's not true, but I would say
Dude,
that
he made
Justin Tucker still lives. Justin Tucker.
Yeah, Justin Tucker's probably.
I get you. I get you that. I'm not saying Brandon Aubrey's a bad kicker, but I just like if Jake Bates were to be signed to the Lions, like I'm not expecting him to just automatically be Brandon Aubrey. Like Brandon Aubrey at least kicked in college. Jake Bates never kicked in college.
Dude, he was 36 for 38 last year coming off.
I'm not saying he's a bad kicker. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a difference between being elite in the UFL and elite in the NFL. Could he be a good kicker? Yes. But at the end of the day, I still don't think that's automatically going to change, especially for a guy that hasn't kicked much in his career to just change Dan Campbell's philosophy, especially when you're talking about in between the 40s.
To be honest, I don't think Brandon Aubrey kicked in college too. I just want to throw that out there. I think he's the same situation as Jake Bates. Brandon Aubrey played soccer, I believe, and played in the MLS or some league, and then transitioned to football in the USFL. And then it was probably the same thing. Everyone was saying the same thing last year. Well, Brandon Aubrey didn't kick before, and then he goes over to.
I'm not dying on a Jake Bates hill, man. Like,
why would you not a guy that's 50 plus? He's 6'8", 60 plus.
Yeah.
That man's kicking 60-yarders like it's nothing.
I'm not denying.
You're acting like it's like, why would you want Jake Bates? That's
because I don't think that's going to change how Dan Campbell runs this team regardless. That's how I view it. I think Dan Campbell, if he got an elite kicker, maybe a little bit, but I think Dan Campbell at the end of the day is going to be Dan Campbell. He's going to be like Brad Holmes. They are the way they are. This team is built the way they are built. And I think that they're still going to call plays on fourth down the way they have been. You don't have to agree with me.
I mean, you're just acting like it's like, I don't want Jake Bates.
It's a subjective opinion. But I don't think if you bring in Jake Bates, the needle is now moved.
No, we're on opposite sides of the swing set right now. We're on opposite sides.
No. Actually, I don't think
you're on that side of the teeter-totter. I'm over here.
I don't think you guys are that far off. I think you're saying, Booner, you want to bring him in. Dude's got a leg. It's impressive. And Lucas is saying it's not going to change how Dan operates, which I think there's a middle ground where it's like you bring him in case you do need him, you have him, but it doesn't change Dan's philosophy.
If Dan doesn't change, okay, who cares? But guess what?
Well, you have
now
him,
you give him an option over Michael Badgley, to where Badgley, it's like, yeah, he can do it potentially.
Yeah, that's what
but
you
have more trust.
Badgley.
You have
you
more.
Hate
I don't hate
Badgley.
Badgley. Badgley. I don't hate the money Badger. Where's my money at? Give me my money.
You want him gone.
No, I don't. I just would like.
I don't think
for a kicker. Jeff, where are you at with this? Jeff, me and you agreed on this thing with the great teams in the NFL have great kickers. And guess what? The Lions don't have that. So why not chase one down?
I wanted to draft a kicker. I think people oftentimes dismiss having a kicker, but we went through it, and we went through it a couple weeks ago, and I had my tweet that I put out on how, I mean, look at the playoffs, and I went through the last 6 Super Bowl matchups and what kicker each team had. I never said it matters to the point where if you have a good kicker, you'll make the Super Bowl. But the teams that even have elite quarterbacks always have a good kicker. It's not that like, oh, we have Mahomes, we can bring in Badgley. Like, no, that's not how that works. Like, they're always trying to have a good kicker.
I would love
that was my point. Is it's not like it's all that matters, but yeah, you're gonna want a better kicker than Michael Badgley, like 100%. Yeah,
this is my thing too with that, Jeff. Is just like there's people like, and I get it. Badgley is you're able to use him, and you're able to, hey, we can win games with him. We can kind of go whatever. Yeah. It's just average to me. People act like because we're asking for a Jake Bates or like, hey, let's try and get a new kicker. Let's draft a kicker. That we're like, hey, no, we need to replace Badgley. Now he sucks. It's not saying Badgley sucks. What it's saying is this team is so built out right now. There's depth on this team now. You are now a Super Bowl contending team. Now with the Super Bowl contending team, that comes with every position matters at that point, especially a field goal that adds points to the games, to where it's, hey, we can actually take a look at this and say, hey, do we need to upgrade our kicker? And I think there's an opportunity. But like, you would be lying to me if Michael Badgley, if you're saying he's a top 10 kicker in the NFL. He's not. He's just not. When we know that his leg's not even close to that. So if you can find a way to get a guy like Jake Bates with a big leg and an accurate leg, why not bring him in and potentially get a top 10 kicker in the NFL and have a guy in your building like that? That's an advantage. That is an advantage. Right now, there's no advantage. It's just, hey, we've got a reliable NFL kicker, pretty decent, not bad. Sometimes he misses, you know what I'm saying, though? It's like he doesn't have power, he doesn't have a leg, but like, hey, he's going to make
mid.
Yes, he's just an average NFL kicker, average.
Yeah.
But if you want to be in the Super Bowl, like, you're going to have to make big kicks and big moments and 50, 60 yarders. I'm not saying Jake Bates can do it. He gives you a chance to get a guy like that in the building, though, if he can become that. Why not try and upgrade?
Well, they could have in the draft, but they chose not to, which is their prerogative. They drafted Christian Mahogany, which is certainly, I think we'd all agree, prefer him over a kicker. We all agree, prefer him over a kicker. Mm-hmm. They brought in James Turner, Michigan man, who is basically, this is a little disrespectful, but dollar store Jake Moody. That's basically what he is, if I'm being real. He's not Jake Moody, but, he's going to compete. Hope he competes and has success, but the odds would indicate that's not going to happen. So Jake Bates is probably your best option if it's not him, but we shall see, boys. I mentioned the draft, how the Lions would have an opportunity to take a kicker. Let's go back, look at every round of the NFL draft, the 2024 NFL draft, and look at who, I guess, PFF in this instance thinks is the best value pick in each round. So I'll put this up. The Lions made an appearance here. You see it, round one.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We're going to give our version of this. We're going to give our version of this after I read this, because this is
it's great. When you look at the draft, and I went round by round and got names. This whole thing is just unbelievable.
So best pick of every round, according to PFF, Trevor Sikkema. He says Amarius Mims in the first round, best pick. In round 2, Cooper DeJean. Round 3, Andrew Phillips. Round 4, Javon Baker. Mm-hmm. Keep it moving. Round 5, Cedric Van Pran. Round 6, Mekhi Wingo, Lions. And then in round 7, KT Leviston. In round 7, 254. So that's
killer pick, dude.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the player. So, okay. So you look at the value picks of every single round according to PFF. I thought it'd be a fun exercise if we went as a group, or if Booner, you have yours, so we can go through yours and we'll go through each of ours who we think the best pick of every round in this past draft, and who in through round 1 all the way to 7. So we'll start with you, Boone.
Hey, yep.
What do you think?
We're just doing round 1 right now?
I would assume that round 1 is not Amarius Mims. I would assume.
No. So, I mean, if we're being honest, like, Jeff, if it's like best pick, in my head, it's like best value, right? Not best.
That's how I thought of it. Yeah. Value /, maybe player a little bit in there too. You got to think of the player, I guess.
Yeah, because if it's best pick, then you could probably just say the team that got, the
Caleb Williams,
franchise quarterback, Caleb Williams. To me,
best value.
I'm going to go best value here. And when I looked at it instantly, because it was such a heavy offense, the first 14, 15 picks, I think the value came in defense. That's where I'm at with it here. I had here Dallas Turner at 17, the Vikings. You could argue either him or the Terrion with the Lions, the two top defenders in the NFL in this draft, getting them at 17 and 24. I think that's the best value in the first round. Not Amarius Mims.
No, that's disgusting.
Not Amarius Mims. I think it has to go to the 2 of the top defenders in the whole draft that fell all the way outside the top 15. That would be my value. That's kind of what I took out of it in my round 1 guys that I have.
So I'm actually I had Dallas Turner, so that's a great one. I mean, I don't really need to add much there. I think Dallas Turner close to the 20s is ridiculous. Just based on where he was projected to go and what kind of caliber of player he is. I think Terrion's in there too. Yeah. I mean, he was supposed to be a top 15 pick and Lions got him. So those are great two options.
I mean, honestly, boys, I know it's not the sexiest pick in the world, but I think Graham Barton definitely has a run for that discussion. He went 27th to the Buccaneers, and I think when you look at him, with Tristan Wirfs, if you can put both of them on the same side of each other, the left side, I think that's a very dominant force. So I think I'd probably go Graham Barton just because he fell so far, and I think he's better than Amarius Mims just day one off rip.
Yeah.
So I think that's value.
Yeah,
I'm shocked you didn't say Xavier Legette.
I think Latu.
The area we projected him, Boone.
I think Latu. I almost went with Latu, but I just think getting Turner picks later. I mean, it's pretty good. They traded up to get him, but still, I think Latu's a great one.
Yeah,
I would agree though, Booner, defensive players. That's really the value there.
Once they started falling, like when we were going into the draft, everyone was putting Dallas Turner 8 to the Falcons, and they thought he was going to be like there was that gap. It felt like between Dallas Turner and then Latu and Jared Verse. We kind of felt like there was that big gap there. So when you see like Latu go at 15, and then you see Dallas Turner go to 17, especially to the Vikings, which hurts. We all thought Dallas Turner was the best defensive player in this whole entire draft. And he was supposed to go top 10, and the other guys were the guy like Latu. A lot of like you saw him mocked in the 20s at times, falling because of his injury, up all the way up to 15. So to me, getting him at 15, I'm not going to say as much, but the Dallas Turner to where he was supposed to be top 10, all the way to 17, that to me is the best value, and I think that should have been in that graphic there. To be honest,
I think we're all going to have different ones as the round goes on. I just have a feeling. But we'll go
I have
around.
A couple for each round, by the way, too. There's a couple rounds where I have one or two.
Okay. Well, we'll go right to round two. Who do you have, Boone? Who's your round two best value pick?
So who did they pick? They picked Cooper DeJean at 40. I didn't think that was like the value because he was going to go 30 to 40 anyways. I had two here. And I'm going to leave the Lions off this one. I'm not going to even talk about Rakestraw at 61. I think that's an obvious one. But Mikey Sanders still at 50 to the Commanders. Like that, we talked about it on this show a lot. That was a guy that, like Klotz, you said he could have gone first round, and he dropped to 50. That's like a steal for the Commanders. Absolute steal. I think it was Nick Saban that said he's the most athletic player in this whole draft, an all-around player in this whole draft. So I think Mikey at 50. And then I also put Jackson Powers Johnson going to the Raiders at 44. That was my other one. That was kind of shocking. Like we talked about him potentially at 29 to the Lions, in the 30s at like the farthest he would fall we thought was going to end up being like 40, and he ends up going past that and going to 44. And the Raiders, when they're trying to build something a little special over there, they get one of the best, probably guards in this draft at 44, which is crazy to think.
Go Lucas, go, because I don't know if you will guess mine, but I want to hear yours. Round two.
I was gonna say, just because Booner said Mikey, I'm gonna stick with the same teams and Jerzon Newton. I just had it pulled up. I believe he went. Just I'm not saying the wrong thing. He went 36th, and I think when you look at he was he he would have been the second defensive tackle. Or when did Root go? Because I know he went towards the top.
Byron Murphy
went 16th, and then I believe the Falcons traded up for Rook at the top.
Yeah, he went 35. You want to pick in front of Jerzon.
Yeah, so he was the third one. I think when you just look at that alone, let alone him falling in the second round, I think there's a lot of value in that. And then there's one other one. Well, Jeff, you say yours. I don't want to cut you off. You say yours, and then if not, we'll double around.
Mikey was there. The one I put on here in terms, I guess, value. Yes, he was the first player taken, but I think Keon Coleman in round two is a great pick too. I think the Bills trading back and getting him, that's a hell of a pick.
Traded back twice.
Yeah, traded back twice to get him. Another one I was going to mention was Zach Frazier or Jackson Powers Johnson. Like those two, that's hard. That's tough for me. Those guys I would wanted the Lions to take at 29, and they were there in the second round. So I'll stick with the offensive lineman though. I'll go JPJ or Zach Frazier. Those two mainly.
I did see a lot of people in the chat saying Donnie Mitchell too.
Well, he was round 3. That's who I was going to go with. I thought round 3.
Oh yeah,
I thought he went round 2.
52, second round.
He went round 2.
My fault.
That's a good one.
The one that I thought just for the value, and I have two more, but my one that I don't want to say, but is honestly probably my favorite, is Edgerrin Cooper to the Packers. because they just lost Devondre Campbell, and he's without a doubt the best linebacker. And I think you can say the same thing, not the best wide receiver, but for what they're getting, Ladd McConkey to the Chargers, I think that Justin Herbert's going to have a connection with him right off rip. And I think that'll be a duo over the next 5, 6, 7 years. That's just going to be a consistent thing. I think it's going to be like, not to the level, but I'm saying as far as the chemistry of like a Stafford and Cooper Kupp.
Interesting.
By the way, I want to throw this out there. This is not a steal or anything, but my guy, T'Vondre Sweat. Remember, everyone was having him drop out to like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
That is a dumb pick.
He went 38, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. Remember, that's my guy, too. I hope he goes in there and dominates. Now I've got the Titans are almost becoming my third team with Will Levis, now T'Vondre Sweat. That might be my third team. Like if I had to pick like a bad football team, like, hey, who's a really bad NFL team you want to cheer for? I might have to go the Titans. Actually, no. Actually, I take that back. They screwed over
your Bills reigns.
Yeah, you have your Bills.
There's not even a close second or third.
They screwed over Vrabes.
I actually like the coach they have now. Callahan's. He's really
don't care.
Good.
Mike Vrabel.
But it's okay. I get, but their GM sucks.
They're gonna get. They're just gonna get. They're gonna be just dog food in that division. Absolute.
Well,
dog.
Levis is gonna put numbers up though.
Probably.
But yeah, with handing off to Tony Pollard.
Oh,
and
see the
GM
receivers
over the age of 30, damn near.
Yeah,
we respect them a little bit, eh?
Hey,
what about round? What about round? Did you go, Lucas?
Yeah. Because I said Edrin Cooper, and then I said Ladd and Jazan.
Round 3, fellas. I got Peyton Wilson. Steelers getting Peyton Wilson.
I like that.
That's a steal. That dude was projected late first, early second. They got him in the 3rd freaking round. So I'm going to go with Peyton Wilson to the Steelers. Best value pick to me.
I think there's a better one.
Did you hear what Luke Kuechly said about him too?
Loves him.
Oh, yeah. He was like, I mean, the way he was making him seem like he was like a second version of himself, damn near. He's like, when you just watch Peyton Wilson, he just balls.
I would have loved to hear him say that about Jack Campbell. Throwing that out there.
Maybe but he's not just going to be giving it out. Pause.
I've got one in the 3rd round. Actually, I've got 3 in the 3rd round. I've got 3. I'll say one just so I don't take Lucas's just in case. But I've got 3. I'll say my first one here. I
already know we're gonna have the same one. Yep.
Junior Colson. I think Junior Colson at 69. Do you guys remember the day before the draft or 2 days before the draft we were talking and we did a segment like, hey, who do you guys think? What's like a surprise player to go in the 1st round? My surprise player was Junior Colson, and like words started going around the NFL that there's a chance Junior goes late first in the 2nd, and then he fell all the way to the 3rd round. And I think the fact that the Chargers got him, now he's there with Harbaugh. Like, I think Jesse Minter, I believe, is the DC there, correct?
Yep.
Who he was with Jesse for the last couple of years. Like, so he's in a really good spot.
He's literally in the same situation as he was in college. Same situation.
He's going to be I think he's going to end up being really good. And that getting him in the 3rd round is going to be an absolute steal. He should have gone in the 2nd. I'm shocked no one got him in the 2nd. He's going to be a really good NFL player, and I think that's like one of the biggest steals of the 3rd round. To be honest, I'm just going to throw that out there. I have 2 more. Klotz, I'll let you go for another one here before I get my other one.
I'll let you keep the one that you've been hyping up all off season that went to NFC East team, but I love Roman Wilson in the 3rd round of the Steelers. I absolutely love that. The fact they lost Deontay Johnson, I think Roman Wilson, not day 1, but in year 2 will be just as good as Deontay Johnson. When you look at Deontay Johnson, great player, but his drops and inconsistency was wild, especially towards the back end. And he had a year where he didn't even have a touchdown. I think Roman Wilson by year 3 or 4 will be better than Deontay Johnson, who's a 4.19 legend, University of Toledo, by the way. So there's no disrespect. Right? Hopefully, as a resurgence of his career in Carolina. But I think if you have George Pickens and Roman Wilson, that's a solid receiving duo to be building around.
They complement each other really well.
Who are you talking about, Klotzy? Because I didn't. The other two that I have aren't actually.
Boom.
Are you talking about Cooper?
Mm-hmm.
Cooper BB to the Cowboys. Yeah. Great for the Cowboys, by the way. I don't know if it's like a steal because I think he was going to be in the 3rd round anyways. I just think the position he fell into in Dallas, that's an offensive line's dream, in my opinion. Like, you see so many good offensive linemen in Dallas. Like, they go there and they always end up being like great football players. I'm shocked you didn't. 3rd round, Cameron Kitchens, 99.
I didn't know if Jeff was going to say it.
I was just waiting.
Yeah, Jeff ended up liking him more than I did.
Yeah, dude.
No, these
Mo
Isaac too,
Hassan
Klotz.
and you talked me into Cameron Kitchens, dude. I immediately after you've mentioned him to me before, though. To be fair, you've mentioned him on the show, and then when we had Mo on, I was like, "Who is this guy?" Like he's organizing team meetings, like the dude that. He's gonna be good. And then I saw the Rams took him. Shout out to ETN. They got a franchise safety. I have Peyton Wilson over him because Peyton Wilson was gonna go in the late first.
He was mocked
second.
at least in the second at the latest.
Dude, I think he's the best linebacker in the class, and he went in the third round.
Junior Colson.
So
overall,
he's better than Junior Colson. I promise you.
We'll give it a couple years, brother.
We're going to be seeing it twice here. But
Edgerrin Cooper,
Edgerrin Cooper is a monster, especially at stopping the run and getting to the quarterback. This is why it's so nice to have the number one offensive line in football, because Dallas Turner got drafted. You look at Edgerrin Cooper, you have to worry about a thing, not a damn thing, because you know that they have to go up against Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow, and the company. So it's just be a little bit more worried, but at the end of the day, you're sleeping fine.
Klotz, my third one I had Junior Colson. Let me pull up the order that I had in. I had Junior Colson, Cameron Kitchens. I had Adisa Isaac, 93 to the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Good one.
Great for him. I felt like he could have gone round 2. The way we talked about him, the way we did mock drafts, he was like late round 2, and he falls at the end of the third round. And going to the Ravens is like unbelievable. I feel like there's some like great edge rushers blossom.
What you said about the Cowboys with offensive linemen is like defensive linemen with the Ravens. Yeah,
yes. So I think he's going to end up being like great there for him. I think he's going to be an unbelievable piece for that defense.
Another quiet one, a guy that we talked about a lot going into the draft, but maybe not so as far as value because he went where he was drafted, but I think it was a great pick for the Falcons in a draft where they got criticized as Braylon Trice in the third round. I think that's really good for them, especially when you talk about bringing in Rook. And as the days go on, the more I love Michael Penix at 8. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I just think the Falcons are setting themselves up for long-term success. I do.
I didn't mind it when it happened. I know everyone freaked out. I could see both sides, but I was like, I like the pick.
Just not going to comment on that ever again.
Regardless.
So annoying, dude.
Let's go to Booner. You know how he feels about it.
What happened?
Go to round 4. But if he is consistent. Booner's consistent because if it was the Lions, he would hate it because he knows the windows now. That's how he thinks. I'm a little different, but that's why we have the show. All right, let's go to round 4. Who's your best value pick there? Round 4. Because you might say the one my best.
Is that me?
Well, I'll say it. I might
take the one.
I might, TJ Tampa.
What? Oh wow, no, that's not who I had.
TJ Tampa, dude. Round 4.
Shocked you didn't say Javon Baker.
Yeah, that's second. But I'm talking about projection. Like Javon Baker was projected to be around third round, fourth round guy. TJ Tampa was projected to be. I mean, he's creeping in the late first, early second. So again, value, fourth round to the Ravens, and they already got Wiggins. It's a good situation for him. So I'll go TJ Tampa for round 4, steal.
I had Kyrie Jackson, corner out of Oregon for the Vikings. That was a guy late. We didn't talk about him a ton, but as we got closer to the draft, actually shout out some people in the chat and I think people actually messaged us on Twitter. Watch some Kyrie Jackson film, and we started watching, and we started bringing him up a little bit more. Going to the 4th round to the Vikings, I feel like the Vikings got a steal out of that. I think that's, again, him in the 4th was great. I think he's going to be really good. I just don't know, like the corner, like you said, TJ Tampa. Like I don't know. I don't know. Just the round 4. I didn't think there was a lot of guys in round 4 that value-wise stood out. Well, Troy Franklin was a projected first-round pick and ended all. I just don't think there was a lot of value in the 4th, to be honest, personally.
Could I interest you in a Mason McCormick to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Mason McCormick.
I think him. And I was going to say the same thing as you, but especially for the Vikings, who do not have a soul in that secondary, especially on the perimeter. They're going to be the Lions of the NFC North this year, as far as in the corner room. What?
Booner, do you agree with the Mason McCormick thing, Booner? Would you agree with
that?
I
liked Mason McCormick pre-draft, so I'm a fan of the Mason McCormick. I think the Steelers did a really good job getting the 3 offensive linemen.
So who is you said
Kyrie
Who's
Jackson.
your over TJ Tampa?
I think so, dude. I go watch Kyrie Jackson play football.
Kyrie Jackson was projected to be in the fourth round.
I don't care. Like him.
You like him over TJ Tampa?
I do not.
Booner preference.
Oh, Booner preference is incorrect.
Why don't we wait a couple years and let's see how this thing plays out? Write it down. Don't forget. Who has a better career?
Eric All to the Bengals?
Let's not talk about Eric All.
Eric All to
Traitor.
the Bengals. That is it's it's a moxie pick, certainly.
Moxie.
Pick.
What a
hey, you know what?
term.
One's a sleepy one that the Lions, especially late in the season, playoff time, need to watch out for if there's a C-Mac injury is Isaac Gerardo, I think is how you say it, but that running back out of Louisville.
Yep.
His speed, that's exactly what they want. They've been looking to replace that since Raheem Mostert left. And I think he's a back that he is smaller than him, but they don't like Jordan Mason. Elijah Mitchell can never stay healthy. That offense is built off of being able to run outside zones and pitches with the running backs, and he's a guy that they can instantly do that with. And I know their offensive line was bad, but it's going to improve. I think he's somebody, especially in the receiving game, that can be problems for the Lions on like third downs and stuff when they don't want to have McCaffrey out there.
Fair.
I was confused for a second.
No, the 49ers, it's like, do you need it? Probably not. But hey,
the Lions got Vaki. Lions traded up for Vaki.
I know, and I'm already not huge. I'm not a huge fan. I'm willing to accept it and be like, okay, I can see the vision, but hey, not a huge fan of the Vaki pick, but hey, it is what it is.
You watch your fucking mouth. Watch your tone. That's a
hell of
dog,
a special teamer. So I guess, hey, the fourth round, as long as he's a great special teamer, it'll be worth it. That's all that matters. I think we're just too spoiled as Lions fans that we think every pick in the fourth, fifth round has to be
you turn that film on. No. He's just got to be a fine C plus.
No, that's that. I'm admitting that's where I'm damn, but again, it's if he's a good special teamer, to me, that's worth the pick. Dude's a hell of a special teamer.
I think they took him to experiment on the new kick return. And if he gives you one touchdown a year, it's worth it. Because he'll be making plays elsewhere.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know what I mean? It's not like he's just gonna he'll be on.
He's your best special teamer, and he's giving you some little bit of production and everything else. He's giving you a little bit of stuff. Maybe play a little safety.
And I know it's the Mahomes or the Tom Brady, but what Matthew Slater was for the Patriots, I'm sure they would have spent a fourth round pick for him. So if he ends up being that type of player, I know it's a extreme reach because Matthew Slater's probably one of the only players you could say, yeah, he might be a Hall of Fame special teams player, but maybe that's what the Lions envision with him. I don't know, but I like the player. I think when you watch him play football, it's hard to deny he's a good football player.
He's a good football player. It's interesting what he did in the trade. That was the only thing the whole draft that I think you could say, what were you doing there? A guy you don't really know what he's going to be in the NFL, and you used assets to go get him. Again, I trust what Brad, he's given you a track record to go get his guys that you can trust a little bit. So you're not going to sit here and say, oh, you shouldn't have done that because he's proven that. But very interesting. I'll just say that. It's going to be interesting in a couple of years.
I'll tell you my round 5 steal, and you guys probably know where I'm going with this, and the chat's already getting it heated up a little bit. Jeremiah Trotter.
That's who I had.
Oh, yeah.
That was my favorite linebacker because Peyton Wilson, I thought, was the best. Jeremiah Trotter, I don't know how he fell to the 5th. There's got to be something. Maybe there's nothing. I don't know. But the dude's a football player. Absolute steal. And they got him at, I believe, 155? Yeah, 155. Yeah. The Eagles got him. They need a linebacker. That dude is going to be – he's going to be a stud. I mean, in the 5th round, it's an absolute steal. And he just makes plays. So, Eagles, I hate you, but you got a future franchise. He's going to be better than Nakobe Dean. He's
future starter. He's going to be a dog there. That's a steal.
So, and I like Nakobe Dean, and I'll admit he's going to be better than Nakobe Dean, man. I promise you. He's bigger. I think much bigger.
Dean's a whiff. Yeah, I think so.
But Jeremiah Trotter's mine. That was the only guy I written down because
I'm going to stick with the linebackers. stay in the Ohio region, although he went to Vegas, Tommy Eichenberg, and laugh at you all you want, but I think he's a guy that they can at least he'll definitely be playing snaps for in this season. He'll eventually probably be a starting linebacker. I don't think he's gonna be a Pro Bowl level player, but I think that's a guy in the linebacker room that'll be there consistently, and getting him in the 5th round, getting a starter in the 5th round. I think there's value in that. Because it's not like he's I don't know, running a 4-9, but he's not the most athletic linebacker, but against the run, he's going to do what they ask him to. He fits what Antonio Pierce wants to build. Plain and simple.
Fair. Mr. Eichenberg. Okay.
Good spot for him to be at. Yeah. Who's that one linebacker that the Raiders have? Oh my gosh. Well, I'm drawing a blank right now. He's just I think it might. I think he's just an absolute, just runs around, just a weapon.
I think he's still there at least.
Kind of electric to watch too, because he just like head down running around like the water boy, just.
What the hell?
Let me look at Spillane's there.
Jeff, I had the same as you though. So Jeremiah Trotter in the 5th. I don't know if there was a ton. Once you get to some rounds, there's so many, and then some rounds there's not as many. I wanted to say Austin Booker to the Bears just because he was actually kind of productive in Kansas, and he doesn't have to go into the Chicago, franchise instantly and he'd be that guy. It's one of those things to where you don't have to. Some of these positions, some guys get in where they're actually not like ready for it, and they have to go in and be the number 1 or number 2 at any position. Austin Booker's he was someone that even like at times we've mocked him to Detroit to come in and be that other edge piece with Hutch, and I don't know if he's like ready exactly for that, but going to Chicago, he's not going to have to do that right away, and he's going to be able to learn, and sometimes that helps guys produce and not have to have that much pressure on your back. And I feel like that's like a position for Austin Booker in the Bears defense, which we have to see twice a year, but I think that was a decent pick for them.
Yeah, I thought the Bears I thought that was value. Also, we talked a lot about Austin Booker as a potential Lions pick if they did
during the show. I think the live show we were on.
Yeah. Rounds. Did you already go? Oh, you said Eichenberg. Round 6. To me, it's the Lions. I thought Wingo is the best value pick. Like I'm sticking with that.
I think they have 1 and 2.
Oh,
I could argue a 3rd.
Oh, because
one that I really
like was a 6th round pick, not a 7th. Yep.
Yeah, I think Mahogany and Wingo. I think Wingo and Mahogany are in this round 1 and 2 best value, because like Mahogany was supposed to be a 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, and you got him in the 6th. And same with Wingo. Like they were both top 100 prospects coming out of the draft or going into the draft. They were both supposed to be 3rd, 4th round guys, and they've both fell to the 6th round. So I think the line, like if we're being honest, we're actually looking at charts and who got the best value out of the 6th round. The Detroit Lions dominated the 6th round with that value, with those 2 guys. Dominated.
I agree with everything you just said, Booner. I just think another guy that deserves to be in that conversation, Malik Washington, the receiver out of Virginia, him going to Miami. He's not going to be starting right away, but after Odell leaves, that's a guy that can just fucking fly. And he had 1,400 yards at Virginia this year, was one of the best receivers in the ACC. So I think when you plug him into Mike McDaniel's system, that's going to be a guy probably in like 2-3 years that not going to be the wide receiver 1. They got Jalen Waddle. I'm sure Tyreek Hill is still going to be producing for the next couple of seasons, but you got a wide receiver 3, and then potentially when Tyreek leaves, you got another guy that can just fly down the field for you. I think Malik Washington was a steal.
Well, how much will he play this year, do you think? Because they did just bring in Odell.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Odell will be the wide receiver 3, which I think will be good for Washington so he can get better at route running and not just flying. Like it'll let the game slow down for him. And I know I believe they still have Cedric Wilson, but I think he'll beat him out. But there's going to be an injury. Jalen Waddle is always hurt throughout the season. Same thing with Tyreek Hill. Odell's another guy. So I don't think he's going to be starting, but he'll definitely be getting on the field. And on special teams.
Well, fellas, I want to transition here because we have this from PFF as well. And I thought this was a great talking point. And there actually is some players that aren't on this graphic, but it gives you an idea of what Brad Holmes has done to this defense since he's got here and who he had when he first got here. Remember what this defense looked like before Brad Holmes and now what it's looking like going into this season. It is complete. It's a complete 180 who they had. Overpaying guys like Jamie Collins. Overpaying. They brought in Trufant, however you pronounce his last name.
Trey Flowers.
Trey Flowers, overpaying Trey Flowers. There's a lot of them.
I've got a Trey Flowers jersey.
Of course you do.
You're a real one, Dylan.
You're a real one. All right, look, and then you look at this graphic, and you look at some of what Brad has done to this defense since 2021, and the misses are not on here, quote misses. Like Josh Pascal is not on here, and Levi Onwuzurike is not on here. So, and Broderick Martin is not on here yet.
Well, Broderick is a fresh one still, Klotz. The other guys had a couple years.
That's fair.
Stop. Come on now.
But since 2021, look who he's hit on. Terrion Arnold. Yet it was soon. Terrion Arnold. We'll see with Dennis Rakestraw. I haven't played, but still good players. Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph, Malcolm Rodriguez, James Houston, Ali McNeil, Ifatu Melifonwu, Iffy. Like, look at the lineup here. I mean, this is what this man has done is damn impressive. Now, the thing that stands out to me with this is you look at who he's drafted. There's only 2 edges on here.
Yeah.
Which that was kind of my thing. Aiden Hutchinson, which you had to take, and then James Houston, who was a 6th-round pick, who's really good. But there hasn't been. I mean, defensive lineman he's taken. I mean, he's taken Lee McNeil, Josh Pascal, Levi Onwuzurike. But I think Josh Pascal can still get on this list. I do. I don't call me crazy. I think he still has some potential there. But boys, even Malcolm Rodriguez, special teamer.
Yeah. Started for his whole rookie year.
Hasn't had too many misses.
No, I love
Malcolm, to be honest.
Malcolm's a great piece, I think. I don't know. I just looked at from last year to this year, just not even just the draft picks, but what Brad's done to address the defense has just it's been big time. I told you before the show, Jeff, the only room that he hasn't addressed in this defense this year was the safety room. And that's the one to me where, okay, but going forward, he did address it. Even like Klotz, if you don't like Davenport, to me, that's an upgrade from Charles Harris from last year. So like I went here, Jeff. I'll break this down for you. You want me to break this down 23 to 24?
Let's do it.
Break it down.
Position groups, defensive line. Last year you had Aiden Hutchinson, Charles Harris, Ali McNeil, and Isaiah Bucks. Those are like your top 4 guys. This is just on the depth chart. I looked at last year's depth chart just to make sure I had it. Like, how did they have it going into the season? What was like the Lions looking at going into this season right now without even any more free agent? You have Hutch, Davenport, DJ Reader, and Ali McNeil. To me, already upgraded. Linebacker room, didn't make any moves, but guess what? You're getting a year 2 Jack Campbell who's about to step up. And your linebacker room with Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes, Anzo, like that is an elite, a great linebacking core. Corners, this is the shocking one, fellas. Cam Sutton, Jerry Jacobs, Kendall Vildor, Khalil Dorsey, Chase Lucas, and you turn that into Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, Amik Robertson, Emmanuel Mosley, Ennis Rakestraw, and then some of those guys are still there. I believe, isn't Vildor and Dorsey still here? Or maybe just Dorsey.
Is Vildor.
Vildor.
So like Chase you just literally got 5 guys in front of all those guys. So you literally just turned that whole room upside down. The only room to me that's, I don't want to say questionable because I think the 3 guys you have in there are like really good, is the Kirby, Brian Branch, and Iffy. It's just you lost CJ Garner-Johnson and Tracy, did not replace them. So that's the question to me. Like, what are you going to do with that? But that turnaround from that defense from, let's say, since February to now, unbelievable job from Brad. Unbelievable job. And that's all with that drafting, that graphic you just showed, Jeff, and everything. Like, he turned this whole thing around. He addressed the needs. What was bad? The defense. Guess what? AG got a defense now, man.
Yeah, he's got to cook.
The thing that stands out to me, fellas, is when you look at who he's drafted in the secondary, because I think edge, and we can probably speak more on that in a little bit here. I am still concerned. I think it's fair to be concerned a little bit about the pass rush. That's probably the only thing left, to be honest, where you look at and you're like, ooh, to be determined. But for me, the secondary, the secondary's built, the versatility. I mean, the guys that they have, Brian Branch, safety, but like Anzalone put the video we showed yesterday when he was on Chris Long's podcast. Dude's like a Swiss Army knife, can play anywhere in your secondary. They have Terrion Arnold now, who played safety in college, now is a corner, but he's versatile. I think Rakestraw, with his tackling ability, you can move him around, play some nickel. Like, I think there's an opportunity for him to play multiple positions. And then, like, that's what stands out to me is the versatility there with who they have in their secondary. Because that's what I think gives you the edge. AG can it's like a puzzle he can kind of put together. play guys to their strengths. I think Kirby's he's just a safety in general. Like, he just makes plays. And you have Iffy, who was drafted as a corner, now a safety. So they just have a lot of versatility in that secondary. But the pass rush, fellas, I am a little concerned about. I'm not going to lie to you. It's still something I do. Like, Davenport really has to stay healthy and play really well. And Houston's got to do what he did his rookie year for this pass rush to be like, okay, we're good.
I think what I'm most concerned about with the pass rush is not even so much the sacks, because I think those will come adding DJ Reader, but it's going to go back to being able to not have the pocket collapse and the quarterback leak out. So containing the quarterback, that's where I think it's going to suck, because I think they'll be able to get pressure up the middle, get pressure from Hutch's side. But then I think Marcus Davenport, James Houston, once their side collapse, I think it's going to be able to be quarterbacks just run out there all day, extending plays. So that's what I'm most concerned about. I think the sacks, those numbers will rise, but then it goes back to how important are those numbers really if the problem at the end of the day isn't solved, which is containing the quarterback so plays can be made instead of the other team making plays. All the time, you look back at the Cowboys, you look back at the 49ers, all those big games, especially down the stretch, it was a lot of the times the Lions shooting themselves in the foot because they missed a tackle, the quarterback got outside the pocket to find a wide open receiver down the field. Now, hopefully the wide receiver wide open down the field is reduced. You don't have CeeDee Lamb on Kindle Vildor after Dak breaks Derek Barnes' attempted tackle and he finds him wide open for 98-yard touchdown. Hopefully that's reduced. But at the end of the day, that's where my issue, I think, is going to arise. I think your guys' point with Marcus Davenport, yeah, he can get 4 or 5 sacks, but that's not really my issue with it. I just think he's going to be getting manhandled a couple of games. And that's where, if there's not injuries, that's where my issue is.
I see the people. I love the chat. Mentioning Matthew Betts. Like, the
hero. The white knight on the other side of Hutch.
I was preaching it all season long. I just love the fact. I just wanted to move on from the Aquara brothers and Charles Harris. I just wanted to move on from all these edge rusher and these defensive line experiments. That was all I wanted. Let's just get a new face, whether it's Davenport or it's Matthew, whoever it is. Why don't we just get nothing was coming out of those guys. Let's just get a new body in the building here to see if we can get anything out of anyone. Because that was it was over. It was trying the same thing over and over and over and expecting the same results. That's all that was. So it's like, all right, thankfully we have moved on and now we can figure
and
that
Will
out.
Harris. And Will Harris.
Fucking name.
You know that. And Will Harris. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if the chat, and real quick, we got a super chat from Steve. He says, round 7. Thank you for the $2, by the way, Steve. He says, round 7, Brandon Rice at pick 225, steal of round 7. I agree with that. I do. Absolutely with Steve there.
Yeah, I was surprised you skipped over round 7. I the only person I had was Brandon Rice because all you wanted was Brandon Rice.
You know, I agree with that 100%. I think for me, real quick on the Okora thing, I fell victim to Julian Okora. I did. I like Julian Okora. Romeo, it got old. You understood, like, the injury he sustained, I think towards Achilles. And after that, he was just never the same. But Julian, I just kept falling in love with him. And then eventually the Lions were like, again, they know more about Julian than I do. But they got rid of him. And I think it was the right decision. But I'm just bringing it up out of nowhere for no reason. Lucas, you remember that too. I'd be like, man, Julian, I like Julian. The last 2 years.
You seem to fall for a lot of players, brother.
Well, really, on the defensive line, it's been Julian and Josh Pascal so far. For guys that I'm like, watch out for these guys. Nope, I was wrong on Julian.
Levi, you stand on the hill for Levi. You did. No. You did. You stood on the hood for Levi.
I think at one point.
Did I really?
I think at one point.
I would, bro. Back at the old employer, between you and Flannel, I would have to I would want to lose my mind. Flannel, not as bad.
Wow, shame on me. I can't believe I.
Shame on me.
You gotta give him time. You haven't even seen him yet. He's in his 3rd year. You haven't seen him yet.
That's fair. I said that. Hey, it's on me.
You know what's going to happen, fellas.
Josh Pascal, though, I stand on that.
Hey, Jeff. To be honest, there's one thing that changed this year that potentially could help some of these guys out, like a Josh Pascal. Terrell Williams, one of the best D-line coaches in the NFL, coming from Tennessee. Like, we might finally have a guy in here who's going to be able to elevate this defensive line. We might have it. I hope we do. That's been I think we've gone through 2 or 3 defensive line coaches since Dan Campbell's been here. And I think they got the guy.
How much do you think
I
that
think they did.
actually improves? Like, I understand that it's going to be improvement as far as in the film room and watching that stuff, but how much do you think that actually translates onto the field with these guys as far as production? I'm not saying it's not. Like, I'm asking. Like,
I think
I don't
a lot.
I don't really know how to gauge it.
In my head, this is the way it works, especially when you get to that level. It's the same thing like when I was coaching basketball, at a certain level. And once you get to a certain point, a lot of these guys have talent. That's not the question. I think that's more like, how do you use it? Like once you, and I'm sure you, Klotzy, when you played football in college, there's so many people with talent. It's who can find the best way to get it out of them, who can make. That's just kind of, to me, it's Terrell Williams comes in here and can he bring the best out of some of these guys? He did it with a lot of guys in Tennessee. I think he would be able to do it with some guys in Detroit here, because it comes down in the NFL. It comes down to just like little things that help you get better.
Yeah.
And if Terrell knows those little things, like, hey, you need to do this, you're doing this instead of this. That's why, like Josh Pascal, I don't think it's that he doesn't have the size or the talent or anything. I think he's not putting it all together. Yeah, and you're not putting it all together, because once you get to that level, it's about the fundamentals. It's about the small things. It's about all of that. So that's where I think maybe that helps elevate a couple of guys, because you don't need him to be a Pro Bowl player. You just need him to get to a point where you're being productive and you're helping out Hutch, and you're not just standing there watching. And I think that, hopefully that changes a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think coaching matters the most in the NFL in terms of player development, because especially when you bring in somebody from the outside and they get kind of an outside look on how you're doing things and how players operate, they can give you a different perspective. I do think that helps. I do. And I think Terrell Williams is one of the, if not the best defensive line coach. He's up there, certainly in the NFL. But like in terms of like reviving players' careers, like you're just beating a dead horse. Like I don't think I think it's over. Like you just got to leave the body, leave it alone. There's nothing left you can revive, in my opinion. It's for some players. I think for guys that have potential, want to learn and want to continue to get better, he's going to be a tool for those guys. And maybe Josh Pascal is one of those guys. But like, Levi Owens-Rike, for example, like that dude's got nothing left. Like I don't think Terrell's going to be like, Hazam, and the dude's all a 10-sack-a-year guy. Like I just don't. So I guess, but also let's not overact. And like Terrell Williams walks in, he's just like casting spells on these guys, and everyone's just turning into like an elite defensive lineman. That's where I'm at with it.
Let me ask you a question, boy. Just staying in this defensive line room. Week one.
Talk to me.
Week one's here, okay, in this situation.
Okay.
Who is leading on the depth chart between these three players? Broderick Martin, Levi Owens-Rike, or Mekhi Wingo? Who's sitting at the top of those? Who's that?
Number one, Mekhi Wingo.
To me, that's a detriment on Broderick Martin.
That's what I agree. I think
Mekhi's just that. I think he shouldn't have dropped to the 6th round. And I know Broderick was a 3rd rounder. I like Mekhi better than Broderick. I think Broderick just need I'm gonna go to Broderick, because I think Broderick now, he's gotten a year in. And I think this offseason is the biggest offseason of his career for him, for Broderick Martin. Like what step does he take this offseason? Because again, he has the size, he has the talent. Can you go out there and do something with it? And I think maybe with Terrell Williams and DJ Reader now, Aleem McNeil, I think the Broderick Martin, Mekhi Wingo, those two guys in this offseason, boom, go out there and be an absolute dog. Now, the Levi thing I'm interested in. Jeff, I'll let you take that.
Jeff's not even interested. Jeff doesn't even want to talk about it.
I'm not interested.
Does he make the roster, you think?
Here's the thing. I don't know. I will say this about Broderick Martin. I do think it's early because we have not seen him to declare if he stinks or not. But what I will say, this year they signed DJ Reader. He's a upgrade to their defensive line, no question. I think that's more them understanding like we got to give Broderick more time, because he's a true like nose tackle. Like that dude is like a true just force in the middle. I don't think he has like Chris Jones. He's going to get out. No, he doesn't have that upside, but he is a big man. If there's an injury to DJ Reader, I fully expect him to be the first one out there. If he is not, or Aleem McNeil, I think Mekhi Wingo could fill that role and play on the edge. So I think Mekhi sees the field faster, in my opinion, because he's more versatile.
Yes.
But if Broderick does not see if he does not go out there, let's say they have an injury and Levi goes in.
Oh,
what are we doing? I mean, like at that point, it's like, okay, I get it, but eventually, like the dude's got to play. You know what I mean? Like, let's not. We can't just keep saying he's a development player for 4 years. Like the dude you got to trust him at some point, and that's why I'm like, we'll see this year with Broderick. If there is an injury, knock on wood. I don't like me saying that, Boone. But if he's not out there and they go, well, we got to get another, they get another Tyson Alulu or someone to come in and fill the role. Yeah. No, that means he's most likely a bust at that point. I mean,
the minute I saw Benito Jones like playing significant snaps over Levi, and I know Benito's gone, but that's when I knew.
I'm a Benito fan. Come on.
That's true. That's true.
Well, it's not even a knock towards Benito. It's more so a knock towards Levi, man. I mean, you're a second-round pick. I don't know where Benito was drafted, but I can assure you he was not in the second round, and it was high in the second round too. So Levi will be a stud. Mark my words from Booner's Bulge. Booner,
shout out for the $5.
Booner's Bulge is high on Levi. We appreciate you, Booner Bulge. But I see the Pascal, and I like Pascal. I think, in all honesty, like with the whole like injury thing, if there is an injury on the edge or injury, like let's say Aleem goes down, Josh Pascal I think could fill that role because he can get after the quarterback. He's a versatile guy. He's like 6'3". But I'm talking about like if you're it depends on, I guess, what scheme you're running, what down is it, and all that stuff. But if it's like a rundown and they're running the football and you don't have Broderick out there and and they have someone else like insert whoever to kind of like Broderick, I think he's got enough time to start getting at least on the field at some point. Like,
again, big offseason for him.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
I hope he comes in shape. I hope he comes right. I hope he kind of did a little bit what Aleem McNeil did. Just not like slim down, but just go out there and get in like insane shape. Show up to OTAs and training camp and everything on a different level. Hey, I'm serious about this. I want to be great. I hope so. I hope that's what he did. And I'm sure, knowing the way Dan Campbell and those guys run that organization, I'm sure they've had a conversation and they said, hey, this is where you need to be. This is what you need to have. Like, this is what we need you to do. And I hope he did it. I do think the Mekhi Wingo thing, though, like to your point, Jeff, I do think that he's going to have the opportunity to have some snaps on the edge. So that's why I do think you're going to probably see him on the field more than you will Broderick Martin right away. That's just, in my opinion, I think he's going to find a way to get on the field more, just based off of that being a little bit more versatile.
I just wonder too, because I think they definitely can find a way to put both Pascal and Wingo out there. But I think Wingo, if he's comparable to anybody, and you kind of brought it up, Jeff, it is Pascal. So if they're like, if you were to do down a depth chart, I almost feel like if they were to have Pascal, he'd be behind Pascal sometimes before you put him behind Levi and Broderick. Because I know I brought it up just in a hypothetical, but the more I think about it, I feel like Levi and Broderick are going to be fighting. You could be seeing Wingo and Josh be fighting for spots. That makes sense.
Yeah. And that's fair. I honestly, when I was saying it, I didn't think about Pascal because, like, again, it's like these guys are all versatile. Like, he's like an edge, is a defensive tackle. But that's why I mentioned if there are injuries, maybe Pascal's out and DJ like there's a circumstance, he should be the one to go out there. They should trust him, and I think they will. I do. I see. Is 5 sacks reasonable? Yeah, I think that's a fair expectation. I mean.
I'd be so happy if you got 5.
Yeah,
that'd be huge.
3, like I think anywhere from 4 to 6 sacks should be like a reasonable expectation for Pascal. Like he should. Okay, you're a second round pick. Let's see it.
I don't even think he's a second round pick that I don't even think is in a situation where he necessarily has to produce like it. That's why like 5 sacks is okay. If this was a bare bones defensive line room, you'd be hoping for him to get 6, 7. But I just think. Even if he gets 4, but they're timely 4 sacks and he's still creating pressure that doesn't lead to sacks on his part, I'm going to be happy with that. I just think if he needs to have an impact this year in some way, a significant impact timely to order to not be a bust.
Yeah, he had 2 sacks last year, so 3 more.
If he makes
3 more.
If he makes plays like he did in the NFC Championship game when they tried doing that end around to Debo and he completely obliterated the tackle and made a play behind the line, it was in like inside or between the 40s too. So it was really big for field goal range. If he can make plays like that consistently throughout the season, I think, which he's capable of, I think he'll be well worth the pick.
Let me see here. I'm just looking at some of these comments. That guy up north, Wingo, was a D tackle that could play some DN. Pascal's a DN that could play some D tackle. That's yeah.
You've got a lot of guys that are versatile that can move
Spot on.
around. Which I think that's a good thing that you have some guys that you can move around a little bit. It's just you have to produce if you're going to do it, though. You have to produce if you're going to do it.
I agree with you, Booner. Like, you have to produce, but I would just, and I love Brad Holmes, but I would just rather do what they did with DJ Reader. And I'm saying even with drafting, just draft the guy that fucking does it. And I understand there's value and stuff like that, BPA, but like it's getting a little bit annoying, especially when you're in this win now situation. If we have to keep banking on these experiments and these projects that we're hoping to pan out, and obviously the Lions are finding ways to just keep the train rolling. But at the end of the day, there's going to be times where players are going to be leaving with money, and you're going to have to rely on these projects. You're going to have to rely on the Manus possibly, and that's something where those picks still have to be proven, in my opinion.
Can I interest you in Bohanna?
Oh my God. I forgot about that dude, bro.
When he came out, I'm pretty sure he played. When he came out instead of Broderick, I was like, yeah, okay, it's a redshirt year. They don't want that man to play at all. And he did play a little bit. What was it, against the Raiders?
I don't even know, bro. I just remember seeing that name and being like, who the fuck is this guy, man? I was just like, what is going on here? He's huge. Yeah.
Big fella.
He's ginormous.
Who? Yeah, oh, never mind. Never mind. Who was it? Was it the Raiders game, Klotzy, that there was a guy on the Raiders that we were like, oh, we need him? Or what? Do you remember what I'm talking about? Just a big fella on a defensive line. I remember me and you we were doing a stream and we just kept looking at each other like, oh, bring that guy to Detroit.
I don't know.
Dude, it was like he was like bigger than, I don't even know. Like,
it wasn't Big Grove.
No, it was a team we played, and he was a defensive tackle, and he was like running up and down the field. He was like keeping up with linebackers at his size, like 400 pounds. And it was like a Klotzy guy. Klotzy looked at me and was like, I want him in Detroit. And he was just dominant. He was everywhere. He was like a part of every play. And I can't remember what team it was.
I'm trying to think. I'll have to look back. Maybe he was on like the Broncos or something, bro. Like one of the teams that we were just dogging on, but he was just still giving it his all.
I've got to go back and look. It was unbelievable. I remember it, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, dude! Like we need." It might have been the Broncos. You might be right.
Or maybe I can see Saints. Lucas just watching, being like, "Who's 4'5"? Who's 4'5"? Okay, 4'5".
But that's one of my favorite parts about watching football, though, especially like on other teams where you're just like, bro, who the fuck? Because there's a couple guys like that on the Lions where it's just like, if people didn't know who Sam Laporta or Brian Branch is, and then week one, you're a Chiefs fan, you're like, who the fuck is this guy? I just think that's one of my favorite things about the NFL.
Yeah.
Dude, I have to find this guy now. I'm so committed. I think he was on the Raiders, man. And he's just a big fella on the Raiders. It was one of the best moments of my life, I think, that we've had together.
Well, I saw.
Was it Adam Butler? No. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Adam Butler, actually, that dude is big. That is another guy he's pretty big. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad.
Real quick before we have Sean on, because he is joining soon. We'll talk some NBA playoffs, some Detroit Pistons, just the future. What the hell are they gonna do? How can we even get close to saving this franchise? He'll answer all those questions for us. I do want to get into the Bijan versus Jahmyr Gibbs conversation at some point. We'll probably do it post Sean. But I saw a graphic, and you sent me this, Boone. I thought this was super interesting. I know last year we talked a lot about it going into the season. And 33rd team put out like a statistic, like side-by-side comparison between the two, their rookie year. And it's fun to kind of revisit and look at, because again, I'm Brad Holmes. We drafted Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. So you got him a couple picks after Bijan, a player that many questioned at the time, and their stats are pretty similar. So I want to go through this before Sean comes on here, but look at this. So you have Bijan Robinson versus Jahmyr Gibbs, right? 17 games, 15 for Jahmyr. Now keep that in mind. 2 less games. He's got about 30 less rushing yards, 976 for Bijan, 945 for Jahmyr, 487 receiving yards for Bijan, 316 for Jahmyr. Total TDs, Jahmyr has more, 11-8. Yards per touch, about the same, 5.4. And then touches, I mean, there's the big kicker right there for literally 440 more.
A lot more.
Yeah, 40, which is a good number. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of carries. That's a couple games worth of carries for Gibbs.
Yeah.
More than Jahmyr. And I do want to say, because this is the kind of thing that people, when they see this, are like, dude, like Jahmyr's by far better than Bijan. I do want to put some respect on Bijan's name a little bit, because I do. You got to think Bijan did this with Desmond Ridder at quarterback. Like that I think hurts. It does. Like when you think about the situation that Jahmyr's in, he is a talented player, but you can't deny that the offensive line and teams having to respect Jared Goff and the weapons also kind of factor into that. So there's arguments for both sides. I think we can agree that Jahmyr's the better value player because you got him pick Slater, and they use him differently. They don't give him as many touches, so he's more explosive. I agree with that. But as like what the Falcons needed was they needed a bell cow back. Bijan does fit that for them. He's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to be in this area, this realm, about close to 300 touches per year, maybe even more. That's where he is.
You'd hope
That's
so.
where he's going.
You'd hope.
Yeah,
I mean, not even with that, but they were giving the ball to Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algier when they didn't even deserve it. Honestly, I mean, Bijan was clearly just the better back, and they refused to just get him fully involved ever with Arthur Smith. So hopefully they do that with him. I want to see Bijan succeed, but I think Jahmyr has the most room to improve, just because I think Bijan came in. Not saying that Jahmyr was not NFL ready, but I think Bijan, like, the transition was seamless in my opinion. You can just watch him day one, his vision. But at the end of the day, when you just look at Jahmyr's speed and his breakaway ability, Bijan does have that, but Jahmyr does to a different level. I think Jahmyr just has a different gear. So I think when you look at it, they're going to be competing for who is a better back out of this class for the rest of their career. You could pick your poison with it. I'll take Jahmyr just because I think he has a higher ceiling breakaway-wise.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know how I feel about this. Jeff, me and you got an argument earlier in the season in regards to Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan about essentially the same thing, to where I felt like Jahmyr Gibbs was a better back. And obviously, to your point as well, yeah, Bijan, the usage, it's completely different situations with offensive line and weapon. Everything they're both in different situations. But I think there's like that side too, like with Gibbs. He's got how many not even Pro Bowlers, all pro weapons are on that offense already, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, David Montgomery, who we could argue could be a Pro Bowler as well with the numbers. And Jahmyr Gibbs is just sitting there getting the second, third, fourth option looks. And he's still putting up numbers like Bijan Robinson, and I know there were a couple games this year with Bijan that he got, which is crazy to say, that there was like the one game where he essentially got benched and didn't play the whole game. So like there are situations, but I just think like Gibbs, again, with Lukas saying the ceiling is there's an opportunity for it to be so much higher, and just everything he does and the offense he's in with everything around it. And I do get what you're saying. Well, if Bijan was in that position, but he's not. So for me, I think Gibbs has a better ceiling within the offense that he's in, with Ben Johnson, with the Detroit Lions, with that offensive line, with Jared Goff, with the weapons around him that takes defenders off of him. I think Gibbs the next couple of years ends up being better than Bijan. Now, maybe people saying, "Oh, it's Gibbs." Yeah, Bijan is a great back, so it's hard to say clearly. That's like going at the top of the league and the top 3 or 4 guys and be like, well, this guy's clearly better. Like, it's so close. But I don't know. Gibbs higher. I don't know, dude. I just look at the stats here. More yards per carry when it comes to rushing than Bijan. Went off in the playoffs as well. I mean, obviously Bijan didn't have a chance to play in the playoffs, but Gibbs had a slower start to the year when Bijan off the rip, he was getting 30 touches a game. For week one, when Gibbs was splitting carries to start, struggled, and then just started taking off the second half of the year. So it's just a weird thing. Like Klotz said, it's going to be one of those things to where their whole career, they're going to be compared to each other. That's just what it's going to be.
And that's you got to think too, like the situation. That's why I bring it up. Like, and I will say this in terms of fit, Gibbs fits with what the Lions are looking for. Bijan fits with what the Falcons need. I will say with Bijan, not only is the situation very different, you got to think how Arthur Smith managed this guy.
It's brutal.
We forgetting, dude. Like, he played 17 games. He had one game where he had one carry. So
It's
does
ridiculous.
that like that also it's like, do we factor that in? Like,
and even the games when he was getting carried, like he would be heating up, and then here comes Tyler Algier. Like just like, hey, give Bijan a blow. Like he's fine. Like they're trying to preserve him, but at the end,
very weird.
Because Bijan, in my opinion,
no, go on.
Go ahead.
You're good.
No, Bijan's like, I think Bijan you can compare to like Saquon Barkley, where he is a guy that you can give 20 to 25 touches a game, and you can kind of use him like a bell cow. Jahmyr, I think, is built like Christian McCaffrey, and how they use it will be like the Saquon and CMC, where it's like, yeah, you can give CMC those touches, but do you really want to? Because you know that there could be injury concern. I think there's less injury concern with Bijan. So for them to just be, you got to respect Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson for what they've done here. It's like, what have they really done? You've been mid as fuck the last 3 seasons. Give Bijan Robinson, the guy you took top 10 overall, the rock. Give him the rock. You have Desmond Ridder at quarterback. What?
This year's going to be interesting. This year's going to be interesting for Bijan. I'm interested to see this.
I think they both have good years this year. I think Bijan, he's going to have a big year given who they have at quarterback. I think that matters. And then Jahmyr, I think, just gets better with time.
Yeah, in my head too, what Lucas said is spot on. Like that was what I was thinking. Is Bijan's like the Saquon and Gibbs is like CMC, kind of 2 different players essentially too. So comparing them, they're in 2 different scenarios, 2 different players. Jeff, the argument we had earlier this year, that was what it ended up coming down to. And now I think that we came to the realization was they're in 2 completely different situations. And it's kind of unfair to compare and say, hey, I think next year maybe you can do it a little bit more. But, it's 2 completely different. Like you can just see it there with the touches. 40 more touches last year. And that's with 1 game of Bijan that only got the 1 touch. So if he would have gotten the actual carries he should have, he probably is almost at 300 touches to Gibbs' 230. And that's where it comes down to. It's Gibbs is splitting the backfield with David Montgomery, and that's just what it is because D-Mont's that good as well. And Bijan, he shouldn't be splitting the backfield with anyone. He should be the bell cow, and he is splitting a little bit as well. So I just think Gibbs is in such a way, way, way better situation. I hope next year he passes him, and we can just look back and let's not make this a conversation.
I don't think it's going to be that.
I hope so.
Gibbs is going to have
I hope so. I hope he gets 2,000 total yards, and he's sitting there offensive player of the year. He's a finalist.
And I really don't want to revisit this, but I'm just going to do it anyway because you opened up the can of worms. Gibbs is not, absolutely not, capital N, capital O, capital T, Christian McCaffrey. That is no. He's not.
What would you like? Alvin Kamara? Does that fit your fancy? The guy that had pretty much the same amount of scrimmage yards going up to last year?
I think that would be a better comparison, I guess. But like
I'll live with it. I'll live with it.
I just hate, how if it comps in general, like you're gonna have to compliment.
It's not like Christian McCaffrey's the GOAT.
Hey, your Jamal Charles comp you had early.
It was good. That was a great one.
I think that's
good, but you look at Jamal Charles year 1 compared to Gibbs.
Yeah, I mean, but in terms of like prototype,
he's Jahmyr Gibbs. That's who he is.
I get that. But we're talking about
in general.
It is, but there's similarities in players where you can draw your arguments back to be like, well, there's this guy in this situation, C-Mac. A player that's got a ton of weapons around him, has benefited from a great O-line in San Francisco. I'm not saying he's that, but as far as what they're ideally trying to be as their ceilings, because Bijan's not Saquon either, but I think just you look at their play styles and how they can succeed, it is very similar. You could say Dalvin Cook for Bijan Robinson. There's tons of guys you can use.
Yeah, I don't think too like the comparison is the number. I think it's more so the style, and that's how I look at it. Personally, that's how I look at it.
I'll stand my ground that I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a top 2 running back in this league, but I think Bijan Robinson's going to be top 3, 4.
Now, I say all that to say I wouldn't draft either of them because we ain't in that market.
Or you wouldn't re-sign either too.
Not even at like 20? Not even at like 20. Bijan's sitting there at 20.
What's the earliest you're drafting them?
2nd round, dude. First round, in my opinion, should be for there's if you look at positional value, which people hate, you're telling me look at how Howie Roseman drafts. they signed Saquon Barkley, and I think they asked him about it on Pat about signing a running back because it was kind of like a big deal. He doesn't really do that typically, like give money to that type of player, a running back. But like every single year, how he's drafting offensive linemen, defensive linemen, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and look at their offense and defensive line.
Receivers.
I mean, like receivers. Yes, there's another one. Receivers, which I think are higher on the totem pole. I'm taking.
You should I want to see your value chart. I would love to see your value chart. You should make a Jeff Iafrate value chart next year for the draft.
I mean, I thought it should be pretty like universal. It should be quarterback. You could go defensive line, maybe even corner. You put corner, O-line, wide receiver. You probably get, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I know it's going to sound bad. You might even throw up some other positions in there for running back.
Let me ask you this. If you were to redraft last year's players, you're not taking Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs top 32. You'll take de facto defensive end over Jahmyr Gibbs, de facto safety over Bijan Robinson.
I just think when you draft a running back, you have to understand, you have to accept that you're going to get 5 years. And then that's probably it. That is probably.
I mean,
it.
I think that's.
I don't think you should you should not
fine.
re-sign that said running back. I just don't think it ever goes well. So as long as you're okay with that mindset, like you draft him at 30, whatever 20, and you understand that after his 5th year we're done, then go for it. Fuck it, do it. But if I'm building a roster, it depends where I'm at. See, there's so many. Like if I'm a contender and I'm like, I'm just going to get this guy and we're going to go on a run and then he's gone, I'll draft him. But like if I'm still building my roster and I need a tackle, I need a defensive end, fuck that. I'm taking whoever the hell's there, maybe a corner.
Are you re-signing them if the price is right though?
But what define like prices?
Because essentially what you're saying is one, either you move on from Jahmyr Gibbs, correct? It's one, you're going to have to draft another running back to replace him, or two, you're going to have to re-sign a guy like, how you signed D-Mont in free agency. Right. Now, if that price is right with Jahmyr Gibbs, 5th year, he's put the numbers up. He's still not hurt. Like he doesn't have a ton of miles on him. Like, cause you were saying the Lions right now are trying not to put the miles on him so that potentially that could, so he's not hurt come year 4, year 5. And then you say, hey, we'll give you like a deal like they did with D-Mont or something. And you don't have to pay, you're obviously not going to outprice yourself there, but if the price is right, you see what I'm saying though? Like, what would you rather do? Would you rather go to free agency, or would you, hey, let's redraft someone?
So here's my thought process on it. I'll explain it. So he's 20. Let's say he's 22, coming out.
Yep.
5 years. How old would he be at that point? 27 years old. What's the tread look like on the player? Is he banged up a lot? Is he injured a lot? There's things you have to factor in. And even then, I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. I think what you have to think is you draft one 2 years prior to that. You have to just
try and get someone to replace.
It's such a sad. I hate talking about it because it sounds so cold, but it's really the reality of what we're like the league we're in. It just makes sense to do it that way. Like you brought up Tyler Algier. We did when we talked about Bijan. Tyler Algier had 1,000 yards his rookie year. He was a 3rd-round pick. Like
I get that, but it's
is like
Tyler Algier on the same level as Jahmyr Gibbs? Because you can go back and you can be like, well, if you look at some of the 1st-round wide receivers and you go, well, look at T. Higgins, look at AJ Brown. It's like you can use that same argument, but at the end of the day, if you want to go based on production, that's fine. You can probably find guys that have similar production to Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. But when you go at the players and how they impact the field, how the defense is game planning for them instead of Kyren Williams, like I understand Kyren Williams, great back, and I know he wasn't a rookie this year. I'm just using a running back that was later in the draft. Kyren Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs do not have the same impact on the field. Like, yes, they do similar things as far as the receiving game and the running game and what they can do, but it's a different level. When you see Kyren Williams on the field, yeah, you're worried about him. But when Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs on the field, the defenders, the linebackers, everyone in that field knows that dude's different. And that dude won in the 1st round. It shows he's different. You don't draft the Carlos Hydes, the Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 1st round. You don't draft those guys in the 1st round. But at the same time, those guys are not Jahmyr Gibbs, not Bijan Robinson. So in this 5-year window, like we said, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, they've all been prepping for 2024. They've all said that's the year. You draft Jahmyr Gibbs, if you look, again, I think when you look at the NFC North, it's hard to say he's not a top 5 offensive weapon in the NFC North this year. And that matters when you talk about winning divisions. And that's what it breaks down to, okay, yeah, this is a guy that I think is worth 12th overall. Yeah, if you don't want to re-sign him after the 5 years, I understand what you're saying. Like, I'm not going to be mad at it. But during those 5 years, he is going to be every worth of his dollar during that window.
Real quick too, and I think too, and I saw Adam's comment there about you can find running backs with production later, and then you can kind of replay. I just think, to Klotz's point here, there's a difference between production and being an elite running back. And if Gibbs ends up turning into that ceiling that we keep talking about, that elite running back, there's a difference between trying to replace that and just replacing production in general. Because Gibbs' ceiling is better than Pacheco. He's better than a lot of these running backs that you're Kyron Williams. That ceiling is way better than some of these guys when it comes to being elite and being just an absolute weapon in the NFL. Now, if he was someone who he doesn't live up to that ceiling and he still puts numbers up, 1,200 yards a year combined, 1,300 yards. But if he gets up to that 17, 18, 1,900, and he's consistently doing that up to year 5, and then contract comes up, you're not going to find production in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round with the guy.
What Adam just said in the chat is such a bad take. And I let me just go down the list. Christian McCaffrey with the 49ers. That's one. Then you go just back to like Isaiah Pacheco. He's not elite running back play, but that's good running back play. You go to Jonathan Taylor. Look at Jonathan Taylor when he's at an elite level compared to when the Colts are at an elite level. You go back to the Philadelphia Eagles when they were good. LaShawn McCoy. Before the Chiefs had Patrick Mahomes, they were at their elite level when they finally had Jamal Charles peaking and when he was in a good situation. If you want to look at the Seattle Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch, that was the tone of their offense. You probably wouldn't see half the success of Russell Wilson if it was not for Marshawn fucking Lynch. I understand that running backs are not the most valuable position, but when you Alvin Kamara from Mark Ingram, who Jahmyr Gibbs is comp to, if you look at Michael Thomas and you just stick with Michael Thomas, Drew Brees is fucked. Alvin Kamara transcended that offense. Jahmyr Gibbs alone. If you would have had DeAndre Swift on this offense instead of Jahmyr Gibbs this year, oh my God, fucking blow me, bro. That is disgusting. If you're going to say that Jahmyr Gibbs does not take this offense to the next level, he is going to be the focal point of this offense. Without a doubt.
I think what he's, and let me try and translate what he's saying. I don't think, because I do agree with you that there are running backs like a Christian McCaffrey that can take an offense to a next level. I think what he's saying is taking one in the first round. McCaffrey was a first round pick, but in Carolina, he was a bust. Like, that's a bust. Yeah, I'm sorry. He just
carrying
was.
That offense. There's no way
I understand that, but that's my point. He can't single-handedly move the needle.
A shit show. They were
declining. But guess what?
But if the Super Bowl run, he was taking 6 overall. Like, a defensive end ain't solving that. A corner's not solving that.
Okay, but here's my thought process on it. You just named all the running backs you named. I think about 80-90% of them were not first round picks. So Marshawn Lloyd was.
Don't draft Marvin Harrison's because you can get AJ Browns in the 3rd round. Don't draft Jamar Chase's because you can get Puka Nacua. You can do this with. That's why
but wide receiver is in.
What did Kelvin Johnson, the guy who was taken 3rd overall, do for the Detroit Lions? And I love Kelvin. Top 3 wide receiver.
No, wide receiver.
Randy Moss? Speaking of it, what did Randy Moss do for the New England Patriots? How many Super Bowls did Randy Moss win compared to Chris Hogan, Julian Edelman, and Danny Amendola? But no,
okay, hold on. If you want to go to the running back question, name me a running back that single-handedly ran a team to a Super Bowl win.
I don't think you can do that with any position outside of quarterback.
That's why I think. But guess what? Wide receiver, it affects who it's directly involved with your quarterback. I know a run game can too, but you can replace those players with not first-round picks. You can draft those players. That's the first round.
You can do that with wide receiver too, though. That's what I'm saying. It's there. I get what you're saying as far as value,
but you'll re-sign those guys. Those guys are worth it. Wide receivers.
I agree with you there. I agree with you. But I'm not saying you're saying this directly because I think you agree with it that Gibbs was not a bad pick at 12. But as far as the people that are like, it was a terrible pick. You can get running backs in the 4th round. Find me a running back in the NFL right now in the 4th round with the ceiling and talent of Jahmyr Gibbs.
Well, Klotz, real quick, I think with the ceiling of talent, but like the product, like Adams put a couple in there. I just think when you have a guy like Gibbs and the talent's there and you take him at 12, because that talent's there. Again, it goes back to one of those things to where, all right, if you want to take that chance at going for it, like to Jeff, your point, taking a 4th, 5th round, a guy in the 4th to 5th round, sometimes you just get lucky. Getting Kamara in the 4th round, yeah, he was a dog, but like sometimes guys just hit but how often do you find those guys in the 4th, 5th round? There are those guys, but it's one of those things again, like Adam said earlier in our show in the comment section, when you get to those rounds, GMs hit on a lot of them, but guess what? They also miss on a lot of them. So a guy like Gibbs, who if he hits, man, now maybe 2nd round, but to your point, Jeff, maybe in a year or 2, you start looking at drafting a running back in round 2, round 3, round 4 to replace or see if you can hit on a guy and see if there's a guy that can fill in. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's the same thing with anything. Like with the quarterback conversation we had, it's tough to find a guy that hits. So when you do find a guy, do you want to just move off of him and not, like Klotz said, like that's the ceiling of Jahmyr Gibbs outweighs
I want to say this
everything,
too.
in my opinion.
I don't want the narrative to be like I hate the Gibbs pick. It doesn't align with my thinking, but I understand it because of 2 things. One, the Lions had a pretty complete team, and they just were like, we're taking the best football player. Like I get that. Like, and you took Gibbs. So I can understand Brad's line of thinking. Like I'm not saying Brad's dumb or anything like that. The other thing is, if you're selling me that our running back can also be, even though I don't completely agree, but you can talk me into it because Kamara was in a 1st round pick and he's a weapon. But if you could talk me into like, he's just as good at receiver as he is a running back, you could probably be like, you know what? Yeah. Like the value there, even if he is on the team for 5 years, like he will make an impact. But I still wholeheartedly believe like in terms of hit rates, you will hit on a running back more often later in the rounds than you will. Like it's just a more common position to bring in guys. Even there's undrafted guys that are drafted that come in and just are produce. It's just
more common because not a lot of running backs go in the 1st round. So
and I don't want to
when one does go, they're probably pretty
I don't want
elite.
this to be like a slight Gibbs thing. Like I'm not trying to do that, but
No.
I get your point, Lucas. Like he is super talented. He is.
I just think people blow and it's not even about Gibbs. It's just running back in general, or it's just like, don't take him in the 1st round. I agree with most of them. Like I said, the Carlos Hyde, CEHs, stay away from him. But when you have just those guys that are special, it's like, what are we talking about? Because you talk about Alvin Kamara, not you. I'm saying in general. If the Alvin Kamara was on the board and you were to redraft that draft class, Alvin Kamara is absolutely going in the 1st round. Absolutely. You cannot tell me he's not a top 32 player in that draft class. So that's where it's just my head explodes. It's like, you can do this. A.J. Brown, 2nd round pick. Stephon Diggs, 3rd, 4th round pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4th round. If you were to redraft it, he's going in the 1st round.
Redraft obviously might be a little
that's
different,
where people just go back and they're like, Isaiah Pacheco, 7th round. It's like, if Isaiah Pacheco, he'd probably be a 2nd round pick if he was redrafted. So it's just, it's asinine to listen to. It's just like, he's not letting that guy slide because he knows what he can do. And I think in the GM's case, that's in every situation.
But that's that you're saying redraft. I'm talking at the draft, the time of the draft. Like you're not thinking.
That's where I get so caught up in that, where it's just like, you got the dude. Like if you're not re-signing him, why? Like there's a lot of guys that Brad Holmes is going to draft that he probably cannot re-sign just because contractually. But I just don't getting caught up in the draft. It's like, okay, the draft is over. Now they're playing football. What is this guy doing for you on the football field? And it's just like, that's where I depart from it.
There are situations, fellas, where you can argue it does make it, even though it didn't work out long term. You're like, I can see the line of thinking. Like I always go back to Zeke in Dallas. Was he worth that pick? Like I would argue for what happened. Nothing came of it, but what it did for Dak, I don't think it was a bad pick. Long term, it definitely was a bad pick. Like it depends how you view that, I guess. Like what Zeke was in Dallas, because he was an absolute maniac his first couple of years. But re-signing him was such a terrible decision.
Terrible, but Jeff.
Yeah. So that's
Gibbs
where
turns out to be what we think he is. It's just when you get to that 5th year, the re-signing situation. Like I don't think we can even have this conversation now, because come year 4 or 5, when it's the extension period, and you're saying, "Oh, do we need to extend him?" If he is a top 5 running back in the NFL and you know that he's going to do that, like how CMC was a top 5 best running back in the league, essentially, and you knew he was going to keep doing that, and they traded him, and now he got a contract. When that happens, like you're moving off one of the best players in the entire league, and just saying you can get a guy in the 4th round that's going to live up and give you that production of one of the best players in the NFL if he turns out to be that. I think that's what Lukas is trying to say, to where it's like when you get to that point, that's at least where my mindset with this whole conversation, because I think that's what the argument is when it comes to that time, are you comfortable signing him and keeping him, or is it better value to draft the 4th round guy? If he's one of the best players in general in the NFL, it's hard to say, hey, we can just get a guy in the 3rd or 4th round that's going to give you the same production. That's just wrong at that point. Yeah, that's just wrong. If he ends up playing out to doing and hitting the ceiling that we think he can hit come year 4 and 5, guys, that's just plain wrong. Yes, maybe an Alpha Kamara in round 4, but to find a guy that's that good with that ceiling later in the draft, you're hitting the lottery at that point. Like, you're hitting the lottery. And I know what happens with some guys like JT and these guys, but again, you're gambling at that when you already have one of the best players in general at that point in your building. That's where I think maybe, Lukas, I could be wrong, but I feel like that's what I'm taking out of this conversation. And you don't, sometimes when you have a team built and you already have one of the best players in the entire NFL in your room, you're taking that gamble. It's like with the quarterback. Hey, if you have like a Patrick Mahomes or you have one of the best in the league, what are you like? You're going to take the gamble and just not do an extension and just draft a quarterback when the hit rate's extremely low and just say, hey, let's just take a gamble because we don't want to pay this extremely big contract for it and then replace that production, because the hit rate, again, it's so low.
I'm sorry, real quick.
Take that for data.
No. Okay. I'm talking about modern day NFL. I'm not talking about the 90s. I'm not talking about when the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. I'm talking about post. Adam put it in there, 2010, go then. That's fair. 2010 on. How the NFL is now with teams, and you see running backs, Christian McCaffrey, very fine player. But then you look at the Isaiah Pacheco's and you look at these guys that are coming out. I mean, even Nick Chubb, who they re-signed, which I don't know how that'll age because he got injured, but still, the first round. Past the first round. You could the Nick Chubb of the world, Jonathan Taylor's of the world. You know, all these different players. Obviously, Swift didn't work out, but wasn't a first round pick. All these guys that just are great players. Like that's all my point was. Okay.
Fuck it,
Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't want to debate Jahmyr Gibbs' talent. It's the ideology of taking a running back in the first round. I just don't agree with it. And
this seems like a conversation that's like we're having an argument that's not going to be solved for 3 years. That's what this feels like right now. I love you guys.
I just think it's philosophy, and there's teams that believe in it, teams that don't. You know, like it's just how it. I do think there are teams that think the same way I do. You know, like, and there are teams that think like you guys. You know, it's not a bad. I don't think you guys are crazy. I don't agree with it, and I think you're wrong. But I'm not saying you guys are absolutely psycho because Brad Holmes just did it. So,
wait, what do you think? So, real quick, in the NFL right now, who do you think's the prime example of a team that does that?
That doesn't.
And it has won. And has won a lot. And has won a lot. Who takes late running backs? And
well,
has won
here's
a lot.
The thing with that
Just
question. Won a lot. At the end of the day, if you're going to win, it has nothing to do with the running back anyway. It's quarterback. So
okay, that was going to be my point. Was like you could say like Adam put Isaiah Pacheco in there, but guess who they have on their football team? Patrick Mahomes.
But so that makes to me, more point though, because
but you don't have Patrick Mahomes. You don't have Patrick Mahomes. So what do you do? You put elite weapons around him. That's what they did.
Well, but the point really, essentially, we say this all the time. I think Lucas is. No, we say this all the time, Booner. If you're going to win Super Bowls, it comes down to head coach.
Yes.
Quarterback, GM.
Yes.
It's not like you're like, we got to make sure we have a top running back. Like,
I just don't think the Gibbs pick was bad. You just added potentially who could be to me is a top 5 running back when it comes to talent in the NFL right now. So I don't think that's like Jeff, if you're telling me, hey, we could get a guy in the first round any year that's going to be a top 5 weapon in the NFL or top 10 weapon in the NFL, you would say no to that?
No, I'm not saying it was.
That's what happened. Whether it's running back or not, he's so versatile. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah,
I get what you guys are saying with the value.
I don't want it to be he's bad or anything. It's not what it is. It's just the
kind of confused on what the argument is now, because Adam's like arguing the 12th overall pick and saying, well, it's not that bad. And then when we're like, when it comes to signing him, oh, well, if he's a top 5 player, oh, well, we're not talking about that. So what are you guys talking about? I don't even know at this point.
It's not about the player.
Type
It's about
the
the
argument in
philosophy.
there.
You draft him in the first round. I don't think signing.
So
him
do you guys
smart,
think it's
but-
bad or not? Because you just said that's not the argument. I'm so confused.
No, it's fine because they're not going to re-sign him. So
I
like
mean,
they just have to accept that. You should not re-sign.
But if he's a top 5 weapon in the NFL, you should resign him.
No,
You're not going to get that. You will not replace a top 5 weapon in the 3rd or 4th round, Jeff. You will
It's
not.
going to, I
Okay.
promise you, it won't age well.
Okay.
I promise.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen too? If they don't re-sign him, Jeff, and you lose that weapon, you're going to be like, oh well, just give me this guy out of Kentucky in the 5th round.
If they have
He's
this
not
offensive
giving you that
line,
production.
and you can get Craig
He's
Reynolds
not giving you that
100 yards,
production.
I will be fine.
Not
All
giving you
right?
that production.
I will be, and not saying
That's
again,
where I'm going away from you on this. That's where I'm going away from you on this.
So you're going to pay out of all the talented players that Brad finds you.
if
you're
he is
gonna
a top
prioritize
5 weapon
paying
in
a
the
running
NFL,
back.
if he is a top 5 weapon in the NFL, if he is like a Christian
Was
McCaffrey,
Alvin
Saquon
Kamara?
type,
Was
yes.
Alvin Kamara a top 5 running back or a top 5 weapon in the NFL? At one
Yeah,
point?
guess what? Is he still in New Orleans?
And they paid him. How's that working?
He's still one of the best.
I mean, they'd be fucked without him.
He's still the best on their team. He's the only
Well,
weapon
they'd
they
be
have.
Way better if they had a competent head coach and a quarterback. And maybe a good defense.
So when you
better.
already have that, if you have that in Detroit, why wouldn't you not bring him back? If you already have that in Detroit.
No, you got.
If you don't have to search for that. If you already
All
have
right,
the
you know
quarterback and the coach and the
we got
GM.
okay. We got to go to mailbag. I think I feel
Dude,
bad
I mean, come on, Jeff. This is common
No,
sense
I
to me.
completely disagree. No, I don't see it the way you see it. I don't. I'm sorry,
That's
Boone.
fair. Well, we're gonna go over this. This is like a conversation for 4 years down the
Oh,
line.
it'll never end. Yeah,
I know,
The
and
good
we're
thing
never
we're
gonna
doing the
figure
show
it out
forever.
for 4 years. That's the rough
Jeff
part.
Merrill, mailbag, Superman ice cream, novelty or no? Oh,
What does
I don't know if I'm
novelty
gonna-
or no mean?
it's like I'll just say this. I don't like Superman ice cream. Not a huge fan.
I don't think it's like bad. Like if someone got it for me, I would.
Not a
Eat
huge
it.
fan. So I might get some. I don't know if I'll get some flack for that, but
I don't think so. I don't think it's like a you have to have it or like it or not. I don't think it's that. Like I know it's like a Michigan thing though. So
yeah, it's God, I might. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I see Roman in there.
shout out Roman.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, shout out that Roman got in his bag for that one. That was how long ago? When was it? That was that was undrafted free agent. Yeah, he was in 2017 to the Lions. Jesus, what a time. Undrafted, by the way.
All right, real quick. Just I don't want to keep doing this. Just with Adam's comment, I agree. Running backs are replaceable compared to other positions, but when you have a top 3 running back in the NFL, those guys aren't replaceable. Isaiah Pacheco's are replaceable. Tony Pollard's are replaceable. Guys like that are replaceable. Kion Williams is replaceable. But when you have a Christian McCaffrey or a Saquon or Jonathan Taylor, those are the guys that aren't replaceable.
Well, they made the Super Bowl already.
Yeah, and guess
man.
what? They
had
didn't win,
Mostert.
right? All right.
Well, they didn't win this one.
Congrats. They have Christian McCaffrey, and they wouldn't have even came close without Christian McCaffrey. He literally almost won them the Super Bowl this year, single-handedly.
Tafka Day says, so running back is the only position that determines wins and losses. That seems to be Jeff's point.
We got to move on from this.
He
We have to move on. I agree with the point that Adam said.
My point is running back out of all positions is much easier to replace. Therefore, I would never draft it in the first round. I would always take it post-first round. No.
There are tiers to running backs. If you have the elite guys, they're hard to replace. Now the other guys are easy, dude. I can't. We can't keep doing this. This is like very frustrating. You seem very stuck on this. Your mind will never change.
That's what I believe.
I could bring like a clear point to you, and you would be like, "Yeah, I don't know, brother. I don't know, brother."
Well, there's data. Oh, I'm not gonna do it.
There's data. Do the data with the top guys in the NFL, the top 3 every year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and what
What has Saquon done in New York?
No, Jeff. How many guys have had?
What has Saquon done in New York?
How'd that pick?
We can't do this. We got to keep mailbag going. Mailbag.
No. Not as the player. Not as the player.
The fraud, Kevin O'Connell. He sucks. He sucks. Go back and watch that game and ask me what Saquon Barkley does for the fucking Giants.
Oh, hold on. Not as a player. Talented player.
Making my fucking Wi-Fi crash. That was a terrible take. Terrible
What do you
take.
mean?
Saquon Barkley sucks because he has Daniel Jones at quarterback.
You're losing
Utterly
the point.
ridiculous.
Not getting emotional. You're emotional.
Nonsense.
No, not you, Booner. You haven't said anything. But
You're emotional.
Listen, listen, I didn't say him as a player. He's a tremendous player. He is
Look
all
at-
New York had. But my point being, they took him what? What did he go? Top 5? How'd that work out for him?
I just
They
think
didn't
there's
get
different levels,
I mean,
Jeff. Like there's
shouldn't
different
have taken a
levels.
running back.
If
Like,
you have
I
a
don't know
top,
what to tell
you're
you.
not
It's
replacing
that
a
easy.
top. You're not replacing a top 3 running back in the NFL in the 4th round. And if you do, you just hit the lottery.
Nick Chubb
Again.
was a top. He was a
You
third
keep
round
playing,
pick.
Jeff. You keep using these picks like every NFL franchise hits on a Nick Chubb every
And
year,
this is
and
my
it's an
point. They had
automatic
a
thing. No,
quarterback, it would have worked out because
Jeff,
that,
you're
those
acting like
positions that just mean
Nick
more.
Chubb and all these guys that win the 4th, 5th, 6th round. You're acting like it's an automatic. Oh, it's so easy just to get a Nick Chubb in the 4th round. Oh, that's so easy.
No, I never. Oh God,
You
there's
have
more
to hit
Nick
on it.
Chubb
If you're
of the
replacing,
world that-
if you're
that-
replacing a top 5 or top 3 running back, it's tough to go find one that's going to be that good. If you're replacing an Isaiah Pacheco, you can replace him with the 3rd or 4th or 5th round guy. If you're replacing an average court running back, you can replace him with the guy later. When you have a top 3 running back in the NFL, like that's what it is.
Dude, you guys
That's-
are missing the point. No, this is not you. I don't mean just in the chat. People are like, "What a bad take! Saquon was all they had." Yeah, he was. But here's my point. All
This
right,
is a little
it goes back to the
frustrating.
running back thing. They drafted him. What did Saquon go? I can't believe I'm. What was he? The draft. He was the. Real quick, I want to make sure I get this right because it keeps coming. I keep losing the position he was drafted.
You and Adam are just acting like, you can replace Jahmyr Gibbs in the 3rd, 4th round. If he hits his ceiling.
Great.
Not happening.
He was the second overall pick.
Idiotic.
Second. My point being, Saquon is a very good player. My point being is the Giants drafted him number 2 overall. He's gone. What?
Yes.
What was the point?
What after what 6 years?
Of what?
He gave you 6 years of
Yeah,
production.
no. Again, he's a good player, but I'm talking long term. Like you're not keeping him. They didn't want to sign him. The
But if
Giants
they had a good quarterback and they had a good coach. But Jeff, if they had a good quarterback,
they didn't want to pay him.
But Jeff, if they had
why wouldn't they want to pay a guy like that?
Are you not listening to what I'm saying? If they had a good quarterback and a good coach, he would have been. But guess what, Jeff?
He would have.
The line. But Jeff, to your point with Gibbs, guess what the Lions have? A quarterback that can win and a head coach that's competent. They have that already. Now, if they didn't have that, and you were like, why are you wasting a 12th overall pick on that when you could go get that late? Then I would say, okay, we're good. They already had that. You have that, and you have the elite running back to go with it.
And here's another.
So
thing
what's the issue then? Because your whole point is based off, well, you need a quarterback, and you need the quarterback and the coach win it for you, not the running back.
Yeah,
But
and those are the guys you pay. You pay defensive linemen. You pay offensive linemen.
Okay,
the Giants
so if you could pay them
nobody.
all, why wouldn't you? If you could pay them all, why wouldn't you?
You're not paying them all though. That's not how the league. There's a salary cap for a reason. So I'm choosing running back.
And part of your argument is why do it at 12 as well. That was part of it. So
here's
part of it, your
Trutella,
argument, part of your argument is you need quarterback is more important. Offensive line,
there's
defensive line, that's
positions.
more important at 12 overall. Guess what? They already had the quarterback to win. They already have the coach.
Lions. I'm just talking about in general now. We're just talking about.
Well, I thought we were talking about Gibbs.
Like this
here.
one. Like this one.
Gibbs here.
Well, now it's evolved. See, like Trutella 2011. So by Jeff's argument, I guess Justin Jefferson is replaceable because the Vikings sucked last year. They should not pay top dollar for him. Trutella, I absolutely appreciate you, but that could not be more far off from what I just said. In all due respect, I never. I had my rankings. There's wide receiver. I had above running back. I'm paying wide receivers. I'm paying offensive linemen. I'm paying defensive linemen. I'm paying quarterbacks. I'm paying corners. I'm not paying running back.
Jeff, I don't think you're understanding this point. At least mine. I think there's levels to running backs.
I'm prioritizing those positions.
There's levels to running backs. The top 3 guys in the league that are elite. You cannot replace those guys like this in the 3rd round. To your point, sometimes you have to pay your running back if he is at that level. If you have one of the best weapons in the NFL, you have to do it. But
the Giants just looked at you and said, "I'm good."
But the Giants already had, or they didn't have a quarterback or a coach that wins. The Lions do.
But for example,
that's such a bad example.
But the
Chiefs never had a running back like Jahmyr Gibbs.
But they got Isaiah Pacheco. Will they pay him?
No, because he's not Jahmyr. He doesn't have the ceiling as Jahmyr Gibbs. You're not understanding my thing here with the different levels of running backs.
Yes,
Like Jeff, no, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. If Christian McCaffrey's contract was up right now, are the 49ers just walking away from him?
Well, if they have Brock Purdy,
No, yes or no. It's a yes or no. Are they just walking away?
There's a salary cap, dude. I mean, what are you talking about? If they have Brock Purdy on a rookie deal, they probably consider it. If Brock Purdy was getting paid $50 million, they
I want to let the people know too. Adam in the chat, not always right. I think he's dead wrong with this one.
Yeah, and
the history shows. No, look at elite running backs.
Yeah, there are good. There's good players. Like even ETN. Where should Saquon have getting taken? Then it's not up to me. I'm not going to determine. I'm just saying for me, I wouldn't have made that pick.
This is such a weird argument to me.
But yeah, we just spent too much time on this. We got to get out of here. Again, I respect it. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. But there's data that shows there are successful running backs, actually plenty of them, that aren't drafted in the first round. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yes, successful, but elite.
Plenty
and to get elite ones. Yeah,
elite
give me the percentages. I want you to do me something. Since 2010, I would love for you to go back from round 3 all the way to 7. The elite all-pro, multiple-time all-pro, not just one all-pro, multiple all-pros. And I would like to see how many there are to how many running backs were drafted from round 3 to 7 since 2010.
I'll do it.
Because I bet you that percentage is very low. I bet you it's a very low percentage.
I would disagree. I'm
going to do it as soon as we talk. I'm pulling it up.
Let's do it. You're going to find yourself to be very wrong, but that's okay. But it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Multiple time all pro.
I appreciate the show because you can have these conversations.
Multiple time all pro.
Even now it's moving the goalposts. Now it's.
I said that from the jump because I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a multi. And Adam, if you're doing it now, it has to be a guy that's going to be multiple all-pro running back.
No, but
Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be that level.
He's not an multiple all-pro.
He's going to be. His ceiling is going to be that.
Yeah, but okay, then Keaton Mitchell, undrafted free agent, he's going to be a multiple all-pro.
Jeff, no, we're talking about.
What are we doing, dude?
Oh,
you can't
we're talking about Jahmyr Gibbs' ceiling. If he hits his ceiling, are you going to pay him? That's what we're talking about.
But how about this? Just look up running backs that panned out past this first round.
We just need to look at the numbers here. This is never going to end.
All right, you know what? We're getting out of here.
I'm looking at the numbers.
We're getting out of here. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Sean Murphy will be joining us tomorrow. We argued about running backs for too long. You guys know how it is. We appreciate you for staying until the end. Even if you disagree with me or with Booner, it's all good. We love you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a blessed night. Stay blessed. All right.